6 years had passed since the fabled Kyuubi, a fox with 9 tails, had attacked Konohagakure on a rainy day. Along with the killing of the renowned Yondaime and the incapacitation of Kushina Uzumaki, the most feared kunoichi of all time, the attack claimed the lives of several Konoha shinobi and bystanders. Even though the blind bastards couldn't see it, what was left was a small boy who looked a lot like their fallen Hokage. They concluded that the youngster was the reincarnation of the legendary monster that had destroyed the town based only on the whiskers on his face. Here's the tale of the monster. As his mother tries to prepare dinner, 6-year-old Naruto Uzumaki is playing in his backyard. Since she was the only person in the village who ever showed him genuine love and whom he could ever totally trust, Naruto had a very strong relationship with his mother, Kushina. His life had been nothing but torment for the first 6 years. Unaware of the latter's connection to their late Hokage, the villagers would constantly attempt to make his and his mother's lives miserable despite the Sandaime Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi's recent proclamation. On the same day, the worst of these incidents would invariably happen. The anniversary of the Nine Tails attack is on October 10th. The Uzumaki family had no idea that this would turn out to be one of the darkest days of their lives. To her son, Kushina yelled, "Naruto, come in for dinner." "Coming, Mom," said Naruto. Hoping his mother would prepare his favorite dish for his birthday, ramen. He dashed into the house as quickly as he could. Naruto, like many members of his family, had a near-obsessive obsession with ramen. He could smell what he could only describe as a heaven once he was close enough. Menma plants and Naruto fish cakes accompany the miso char shao ramen. When Naruto saw the mouthwatering dinner in front of him, he could only drool. "Wow, this looks even better than I imagined, Mom. How did you have the freaking time to make all this while nursing your injuries, Datbeo?" questioned Naruto. Kushina's face started to flinch. He was unaware that his mother's wounds were a sensitive topic for her, as they would always bring to mind the day she had gained and lost everything. Losing her husband, the person she loved the most in the world, and having a son. Despite this, she was unable to perform many jutsu that required even modest degrees of chakra control because of the damage to her chakra coils. The red-hot habanero was consequently compelled to retire from ninja combat too soon. She put on a brave front for Naruto, the only light she had left in her life, in spite of everything. "Only the best for my favorite person, Databane. Itadakimasu," said Naruto as he began to devour his ramen. It was one thing that Kushina never took for granted. Given the hatred her son encounters on a daily basis, she would always put her son first. She only hoped her son would eventually find a few people he could trust and genuinely call friends, besides her. Regretfully, because of the Kyuubi's reputation, no parent would allow their child to be close to Naruto for fear of associating with the demon brat, or to avoid being examined by the village. She would also be subjected to ongoing discrimination because she was his mother, being called the demon spawner, mother from hell, and worst of all, the Kyuubi's bitch. These derogatory terms implied that she was not even in charge of her own choices, and that a 6-year-old child had her under some fucking genjutsu, controlling her thoughts, feelings, and behavior. They really have no idea what my spouse gave up for this piece of shit village, those fucking fools. I sincerely hope you aren't watching, Minato-kun, because if you could see what they're doing to our son, you would despise this place as much as I do at the moment. Even though I'm struggling to preserve my composure, I must be strong for Naruto. Otherwise, nobody else will be." Kushina pondered. The fact that the town would despise her husband's sacrifice in the most heinous way possible, by making his own son the target of their animosity toward the monster that ruined the village, made her very unhappy. But she didn't have time to feel sorry for herself just now. For Kami's sake, it was her son's birthday, and she was determined not to let anything or anyone spoil it. She looked over at Naruto. "So son, have you finished all your homework for today?" she said. Even though she was never the top student at the school, Kushina was determined to ensure that her son at least received the education she sadly lacked as a youngster. But if there was one thing that was painfully clear, it was that Naruto was too much like her in that he detested reading. It's so boring, Datbeo. I mean, when would I ever use these useless facts in a fight? Am I going to defeat my enemy by boring them with a history lesson?" Naruto laughed. Kushina replied, beaming with pride at her husband's achievements, "Like it or not, my son, all of these facts are important. It shows the younger generation what it truly means to be a shinobi of Konoha. It lists down all the things that many of our greatest heroes have done, especially the one you look up to the most, the Yondaime." "Really, Mom? Can you tell me what he was like? What could his complete awesomeness do?" replied Naruto. Stories about the Yondaime, the man who killed over 1,000 Iwagakure shinobi and forced their unconditional surrender to win Konoha the Third Great Shinobi World War, always piqued his attention. At just 21 years old, the man was regarded as the quickest shinobi in history and the youngest individual to ever be appointed Hokage. Naruto held that man in high regard. Everyone in Konoha had the utmost respect for the man who had motivated many to continue fighting with his resolve alone. How little he actually knew about the man he most admired. All Kushina could do was sit and chuckle. She had always enjoyed telling Naruto her own stories, particularly the ones about his early years spent working as a genin for his sensei, Jiraiya. Well, my son, the Yondaime was someone who struck fear into the hearts of his enemies, but was also someone who believed in the fair treatment of all. It was under his rule that civilian families were allowed to send their young children to the ninja academy to train to become ninjas. It was also under the Yondaime that many of Konoha's current establishments such as Ichiraku's were able to thrive and flourish, as he promoted the use of the village resources as the primary source for our own village. Hence why our economy boomed during the time of the Yondaime. The man you look up to has always tried to keep the village's best interests in mind, especially those of the younger generation, who he always believed would be the generation to lead not only Konoha, but the world to greatness. Kushina then began to blush as she recalled Minato saying those exact words on the day of Naruto's birth, showing the same belief in their son as she had even before he was born and the Kyuubi was sealed within him. It was the final day she would ever see the man she cherished most. One tear fell from her cheek. Oh, when I grow up, I want to be just like him. Someone who is loved by the village, someone who commands respect from those around him, and someone who will lead the village out of its dark times. Naruto grinned. He always wanted to be like the man he looked up to, someone who could actually protect their house when the time came. Then he saw his mother's eyes welling with tears. Mom, why are you crying? Naruto inquired naively. Even though Naruto typically received the worst beatings on this day, the festival was surprisingly quiet because they could blend in with the crowd and simply enjoy the festivities. Oh, it's nothing, I was just remembering something that the Yondaime told me in the past. Now come on, finish up so we can go to the festival. Yay! Shouted Naruto with excitement. After finishing his birthday ramen in a hurry, he went upstairs to get dressed. He descended as quickly as he could and he and his mother fled the house. Oh dear Kami, please don't let anything happen today. For once, let's have a typical birthday without irate crowds attempting to murder my son. As she and Naruto departed for the celebration, Kushina prayed to the gods above. Meanwhile, in the office of the Hokage, sitting on the windowsill, smoking his pipe, sat Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage of Konohagakure. He couldn't help but feel a little guilty as he looked down at the village, especially in light of everything that had transpired over the previous 6 years. It began when his successor was killed by the Kyuubi, who then sealed it away in his own son, whose ancestry was unknown to everyone. Minato believed that Naruto would not be secure from the village because of his adversaries on the loose and political rivals in Konoha. He thinks of a certain man who has bandages all over his right arm and face. In an attempt to give Naruto as regular a childhood as possible, he passed a law prohibiting him from speaking because he was a Jinchuriki, yet despite this, Naruto was given a life that would make even the strongest men throw up. Many Jonin ninjas experienced nightmares after watching such incidents, and the severity of the little boy's injuries even revealed the harsh truth of this tribe. I'm really sorry, Minato-kun. I ought to have done more to keep your son safe. When I enter the hereafter, I hope you will pardon me. Hiruzen pondered for a moment before a voice brought him back to the present. The man with the mask said, Hokage-san, I have returned. Hiruzen addressed the now exposed Obito Uchiha, a man who the other Konoha residents believed to be dead. Obito-kun. You can take off the mask now, there is no one watching. Obito said, first things first, Hokage-sama, how's Naruto? After spending so much time away from the village, he had come to trust that Hiruzen would keep his promise and shield Naruto from being shunned the way he had been shunned as a child. Being a member of the Uchiha clan, Obito's clan name made him unpopular in the community, and his own clan shunned him for failing to awaken the coveted Sharingan at an early age. Obito never wanted his harshest adversary to experience ostracism. He would be shaken to his very core by what he heard next. I'm sorry Obito-kun, but I think I have failed Minato-kun. Naruto-kun is unfortunately still receiving those glares from the villagers, but thankfully nothing has come his way to physically harm him, or so I'm told. Hiruzen replied quietly. He had always detested the fact that he was powerless to protect Naruto from the many stares and gossips, but he was unable to take many steps to prevent the public from spreading their hatred of the child because the civilian council and the Konoha elders, more especially, one bandaged monstrosity who will not be named, were always voting against him. I see. I can't say I'm not disappointed, as this is the type of childhood I would never wish on my worst fucking enemy, but I regretfully understand. This shithole of a village doesn't trust Minato-sensei's Fuinjutsu skills, nor do they trust Kushina-san to properly watch Naruto. And if they don't do it now, I doubt they ever will. Obito stated with apparent regret that he had left the community at the worst possible moment. After hearing of the Kyuubi's attack on the village, he had some theories about who did it, but he no longer trusted those who had the new knowledge to prevent it from getting into the wrong hands. He recalled his days as a genin, when he had complete faith in his sensei and colleagues, even abandoning a mission to save a comrade's life at the expense of his own. Then, in order to gain the Uchiha powers for herself, that comrade would betray him in the most heinous manner imaginable, killing his best buddy in cold blood. Obito is still annoyed by this. In an attempt to ease the tension, Hiruzen said, "But enough about Naruto, how's the secret mission going?" Before enumerating the members, Obito responded, "The Akatsuki are in the process of recruiting inner members for the group. So far we have 6 total core members including me, and they are looking to add much more. There is Nagato Uzumaki and Konan from Omegakure, Zetsu, whom I have no clue what village he's from, Juzo Biwa from Kirigakure, Kakuzu from Takigakure, and of course Obito Uchiha from Konohagakure." "Thank you, Obito. Now if possible, can you give me a rundown on their abilities so I can update the bingo book?" Hiruzen responded. Then Obito told everyone about the Akatsuki members' talents, and Hiruzen winced as he heard them all. He had concluded that he and a few other jonin in the hamlet were the only ones capable of handling even the weakest Akatsuki. After that, Hiruzen sighed deeply. Hiruzen remarked, "This is going to be troublesome." Obito burst out laughing and asked, "Is your last name Sarutobi or Nara Hokage-san?" He was fully aware of the Nara's infatuation with the terms drag and troublesome, because of their persistent desire to do nothing in life. No one in the forces could dispute their brilliance when they made the decision to care about anything, even though their constant sloth annoyed many, especially those from the Yamanaka or Akamichi clans. Yeah, wise ass, now tell me when you are going to take the mantle and let me retire in peace," Hiruzen replied. "I'll take the title of Hokage once I deem the Akatsuki threat to be no more, especially considering the kid I'm supposed to be looking after is a target of theirs. Until I can successfully remove the influence of the Akatsuki, then it would be impossible for me to return. Although, I could use a partner to hopefully manage the load easier, plus with multiple spies, less attention is drawn to one, thus leaving less suspicion," Obito said, and Hiruzen couldn't disagree more the reasoning. Plus on the off chance one of us gets caught, the entire mission isn't jeopardized. "Very well, I will see to it that you get a partner soon, although I will need to find a shinobi willing to do this, as there aren't many in Konoha who would accept leaving their family and going rogue forever," Hiruzen said. "I understand, but we are in the early stages of recruitment, following which we will start going for supplies to help fund our organization, only then will I need the partner," remarked Obito. "How long do you think that'll take?" "We should be starting in about 2 to 3 years, by then hopefully someone will be willing to take on this mission. Until then, I'll keep you posted through Jiraiya-sama, the organization can't have me being too suspicious," Obito stated as each person left. "And remember, if something happens to Naruto, for fuck's sakes if you don't try to change anything about this pathetic village who just likes to hate, so help me God if you're alive, I will personally hunt you down and all bets are off. If nothing happens, don't give me some bullshit excuse like, oh the council overruled my decision, because you're the fucking Hokage. If they overrule you, tell them to sit down and shut the fuck up because they are actively participating in not only child endangerment, but child abuse," Obito went on. "I have a saying which I once told Kakashi. Those who break the rules are shit, but those who abandon their friends are worse than shit. You consider Naruto a friend, right?" Hiruzen gave a nod. "Then your ass better not abandon him when he needs someone to help him." With a knot in his throat, Hiruzen replied, "I understand Obito-kun, no need to worry. I will make sure Naruto is kept safe." Good. Obito Uchiha then departed Konoha once more. Following the celebration in Konoha's streets because they stayed out of everyone's way, Naruto and Kushina had just arrived at the festival without getting any scratches. Surprisingly, nobody noticed that the demon spawn from hell and the Kyuubi bitch were there, so it was a quiet night out for both of them. Kushina used a transformation technique called Henge no Jutsu to get some food for herself and Naruto at affordable prices. She was only able to maintain the henge for a maximum of 5 minutes before having to dispel it, though, due to her nearly entirely shattered chakra system. She had to leave before her timer went off, but she was never caught. Sly Fox Fr. Overall, Naruto and Kushina were able to experience the festival for the first time in their lives without anyone really noticing them. They were able to appreciate the Kyuubi festival's splendor for the first time. Portraits of Minato killing the demon fox, a cake built like a flying Raijin Kunai to commemorate the attack, and even a life-size statue of the late Konoha hero were all over the place. The hamlet has been living off of this hero's legacy ever since they learned the Kyuubi's actual fate. When Kushina saw her spouse being honored in Konoha, she was overcome with tears for 2 reasons. One was that she longed for Naruto to meet his father and imagine their life together, as she missed him terribly. For the first time, Kushina genuinely understood how crucial Minato was to both her and Naruto. Thinking about how Minato would never witness Naruto enroll in the academy, graduate, go on his first mission, return with great glory, find true love, get married, and eventually surpass Minato himself to become the greatest Hokage in history made her cry slowly. She would do anything to see Minato Namikaze, her favorite person in the world, one final time, if only to tell him about their son. The way Minato abandoned them was the second factor contributing to Kushina's dejection. Although he had hoped Naruto would be viewed as a hero, a few words from a weak-old warhawk who had a passion for surgically improving his body changed their situation from dire to dire, barring an Iwagakure invasion. She believed that Minato might provide Naruto with a far better life and help them deal with these circumstances as a support system. Kushina started to cry and exclaimed to herself, "God fucking damn it, why did you have to die, Minato-kun? We had our whole lives planned out ahead of us. Naruto was going to grow up to become just like you, get trained by the best of the best, and the successor to your throne." Kushina exclaimed as she was sobbing. She was unaware that her son was no longer with her. She turned around in the hopes of seeing Naruto, who would give her some hope for the future, but he was nowhere to be seen. As all was going on, Naruto was strolling through the streets, admiring the festival's splendor and falling in love with his idol, the Yondaime Hokage. Being an innocent, idealistic child who still saw the positive in everyone, he paid little mind to the few glares that were directed at him. Even if those fucktards don't deserve it. But he was unaware that he was being followed the entire time he was there. Since he rescued her from bullies a few years ago, she had been watching the young blonde, and now she finally had the opportunity to exact payback. Yaraman Hyuga was a conceited kunoichi who stood up for herself and didn't like the demon shithead, as she called him. She felt weak, insecure, and most of all ashamed as a result. She gains honor and respect in her tribe when a random youngster that everyone despises shows up and intimidates a few bullies who were meant to be her problems. But now, because of some brat, she had to deal with her family's disdain once more, which disappointed them all. With everyone preoccupied at the festival, she thought now was the ideal moment to finally murder the bitch's son. She wasn't quite by herself, either. She had rallied a group of irate citizens who were only interested in seeing him killed. She therefore waited patiently on the festival's edge for the ideal moment to arrive. She called out a Kage Bunshin, shadow clone, to guarantee the mission's total success. Yaraman gave her clone instructions, and the clone immediately went out to draw Naruto into a trap. "Go to the little shit and tell him there's free ramen around the corner. That'll hopefully force him in our direction and give us a chance to kill him once and for all." Naruto's stomach rumbled abruptly. He was beginning to feel hungry again after eating a little more than 2 hours ago. Because of their nearly inseparable bond with his mother, Ichiraku's was the only restaurant that would regularly provide Naruto the ramen he always craved. Naruto's favorite ramen store was run by his 2 best friends, Tuchi and Ayame Ichiraku. Though it was second only to his mother's renowned miso charshao ramen, the reason he loved it so much was not the ramen itself, but rather the fact that Tuchi and Ayame were the first to accept Naruto for who he was and 2 individuals who didn't allow their prejudice to stand in the way of doing the right thing. Naruto continues to express gratitude to his lucky stars for this. Finally, he could go somewhere outside of his house without fear of rejection or unjust treatment. He reflected on what he regarded as the best day of his life, his first day at Ichiraku Ramen. No jutsu flashback. Kushina shouted, "Hurry up Naruto, we're going to be late." It was the first time she had taken Naruto outside the house in the 4 months since the attacks began, and it was for her friend's 50th birthday celebration. In the meantime, Naruto was struggling to put on his shirt, primarily because it was too big on him by approximately 2 sizes, barely covering his body. He yelled out from his chamber, "Mama, Naruto need help." After running up the stairs, Kushina solved Naruto's difficulty by simply making his shirts fit him. They both departed for the birthday celebration after saying, "If we can have giant Buddha statues that can destroy fucking majestic attire Susanos, we can have a jutsu that elongates clothes." She could hear all the whispers as they made their way to Kushina's favorite ramen business down the street. They chose to vent their resentment at the Fox after learning of her son's Jinchuriki membership. She was furious because her husband had given his life for the community, and they were not only ruining his final memories but also deliberately trying to make their lives as miserable as possible. Regardless matter what the jerks they call a village council say, Kushina would have taken her son and left if Tsuchi Ichiraku hadn't been the only ray of hope in this godforsaken community. She could only hear the whispers growing louder as they got closer to the ramen store. Kushina Uzumaki considered confronting the villagers and beating the living daylights out of them for disparaging her son, but she was aware that this would only make them despise Naruto even more. Perhaps Naruto would have had a joyful childhood rather than the entire village deliberately working to make our lives miserable if you were still here, Minato-kun. Who am I kidding? If you witnessed the trash this village is putting up, you would most likely be spinning in your grave. Since I know I would want to lynch all of these motherfuckers who are making our son's life so miserable, I can only pray you don't see this. She pondered. Fortunately, one ramen restaurant owner's call snapped her out of her reverie. As soon as Tsuchi Ichiraku saw the small kid in Kushina's arms, he exclaimed, "Ah, Kushina-chan, glad you could make it." The owner of the ramen store looked at the young blonde and remarked, "And you must be Naruto." Naruto pulled toward his mother because he usually didn't like his encounters with other people, because he was being kind to him, which Naruto only experienced from his mother. This one usually made him stress out. Without hesitation, he pressed his face on his mother's neck. In between sobbing, Naruto told his mother, "Mommy, big man is scaring Naruto." To reassure Naruto, spoiler alert, it didn't, Kushina whispered, "Shush, it's okay Naru-chan. Tsuchi-san is an old friend of Mommy's, there is no reason to be scared around him." She was aware that Naruto was aware of the looks he received from the public and was afraid of whether or not they would harm him. Silently, Kushina cursed the gods for providing Naruto with such a horrible attraction, and she hoped that things would improve. She had no idea that things would have to get much, much worse before it could get better. As Tsuchi returned to preparing his renowned ramen, which Kushina and Minato had approved of while he was still living, Naruto could only curl up closer to his mother's neck. He was disappointed that he was unable to hold Naruto, but he understood the source of Naruto's anxieties. Tsuchi also secretly loathed the Hokage and the villagers for doing nothing to curb Naruto's evident and blatant hatred. He already knew that Naruto had been the target of numerous organized crowds in the village who wanted to vent their animosity at the Fox. He therefore prepared a second, smaller bowl of miso char shao ramen, which is Kushina's favorite, with less fat to present to Naruto. Innocently, Naruto said, "Mommy, will that kill me?" The mention of Naruto's father caused Kushina to shut her mouth entirely. "No sweetie, the ramen is actually mine and your father's favorite food." She could give Hiruzen credit for one thing, despite all the crap she said about him for failing to take precautions to keep her and Minato's son safe. The community would be in more trouble than ever if Naruto ever discovered that he was Minato Namikaze's son. In addition to the recent Kyuubi attack, of which Kushina was supposed to be the jailer, the other villages, particularly Iwagakure, would do whatever it took to either capture Naruto in order to gain an advantage over the other villages or kill him in order to seriously impair Konoha's morale and shinobi reserves. This would happen if they ever learned that their biggest enemy had a son and that he was the new Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Unfortunately, Naruto overheard his mother's words. Naruto glanced up, saddened that he had never heard a single story about his father until his mother unintentionally blurted it out. "Mommy, who was Daddy? You never told me anything about him." "Now that the secret is out, you must inform him about his father," Kushina pondered. "Well Naru-chan, what would you like to know?" With much excitement, Naruto questioned, "Was Daddy really strong?" Kushina was barely able to giggle with her son before becoming quite irritated. "Well Naru-chan, your father was the strongest and bravest man I've ever met. The type of man who wanted everyone to love him, and one who wanted to love everyone. He would end up accomplishing his dream and then some, and when I told him you were in my tummy, he could not be happier. He loved you more than anyone he had ever met, and for the last few weeks before you were born, all he could talk about was what he would do when you came into this world, all the training he would do with you, all the fun times you and he would have, all the birthdays, all the gifts, and even all the life memories he wished he could have with his parents." Kushina replied with a grin. Naruto said sadly, "Then, if he wanted to meet me so much, why isn't he here today?" Kushina's expression faltered instantly. Minato never particularly enjoyed discussing her death, and it would be more difficult for her to do so with someone who resembled her late spouse so much in appearance and behavior that even a blind person could notice the similarity. The reason your father isn't here today is because he gave his life to protect the things he loved the most. Kushina responded with solemnity. She continued by pointing to Naruto's heart and saying, "But always remember this, Naru-chan. No matter what happens, your father will always be a part of you. Like I said, he loved you more than any person, friend, or village that supported him through the darkest of times. You were his hope in life, the hope that one day, he could pass on his legacy to the man who he believed would become the greatest shinobi of all time. And he's watching your every step of the way and thinking, I couldn't have asked for a better son." When it was mentioned that his father was proud of him, Naruto appeared to beam. He had always questioned why his mother was alone herself, even though he had witnessed numerous kids spending time with their dads throughout his life. He had the potential to be the greatest shinobi of all time, and at least he wasn't deserted by some scumbag who no longer wanted anything to do with him. Naruto joyfully shouted, "Wow, if Dad was such a great man, then I will become even better than he was." Naruto pulled his trademark, "You don't believe me, so I'll prove you wrong," pout when Tucci and Kushina both chuckled teasingly at his antics. Tucci grinned and remarked, "Of course, Naruto, I have no doubt that you'll be able to surpass him one day. Now eat up before your ramen gets cold." Both Naruto and Kushina exclaimed, "Itadakimasu," before starting to devour their ramen. No jutsu, end flashback. Aside from his mother, Naruto saw the ramen as the first person in the community to treat him like a person and not a burden. Even though he was only 3 years old at the time, Naruto could sense the animosity the villagers felt toward him ever since that day. Despite his silly demeanor, he was not unaware of the villagers' opinions of him. Although Naruto would do his best to avoid it, hearing the villagers refer to him as demon or Kyuubi bitch really disturbed him. Unfortunately, a person can only take so much before they begin to completely distrust the village. Yaruman Hyuga, meanwhile, was arranging with the other villagers to put an end to the burden's life at last. They planned to burn a child to the ground with the help of more than 50 irate villagers brandishing pitchforks, knives, and matches. When Naruto saw a strange man following him, he kept on walking down the street. Naruto accelerated out of fear for his life. The villager who was pursuing him said, "Get back here, you shitty kid. Let me kill you for what you fucking did to the village. I want to kill you." "That was a really wise move, huh?" "What did I do?" shouted Naruto in response. In a spooky voice that would have even Hashirama Senju cringe, Yaruman declared, "You were born. Now take this, you demon scum. 8 trigram, 64 palm." It didn't take long for Naruto to be on the ground, yelling and pleading for anyone, literally anyone, to come save him as the Hyuga used all 126 hits to disable his Tenketsu and the other villagers joined in on the fun. Naruto screamed, "Please, stop it, you're hurting me. You think we care, you stupid, inbred, little fucker? My friend's dog is dead because of you and your attack on the village 6 years ago," a peasant cried. Another yelled, "My ICHA collection has been destroyed thanks to your attack on the village. Yes, I am aware that this was not the source of their ire, but at this point, they would find any excuse to justify severely hitting Naruto. Very pitiful. These bitch sons genuinely believe that the community would benefit from Naruto's death. They don't even have Lord Fourth to deal with it right now, yet the same man is preventing the beast from actually destroying their trash village. And with thought in a weird way. I have to tell Lord Hokage quickly." Then, in the hopes of reaching Hiruzen Sarutobi in time, he ran off into the darkness. Naruto exclaimed, "Please, please, stop, I don't want to die," out loud. "Mom, anyone, please, please come help me." In the meantime, 2 little girls who happened to be nearby around this time happened to notice the murder attempt. She asked her buddy, "Why are they trying to hurt that little kid? A blonde?" The other girl, with the pink hair and the very wide forehead, said, "I don't know, but go get help from your mommy, and I'll try and stop them from hurting him." The pinkette hurried over to protect Naruto from the hooligans as the blonde fled to seek out some adult assistance. She couldn't stand to watch someone treated so poorly, especially when they were so young. She intervened to protect Naruto from the attack before one of the villagers could strike him in the head with their pitchfork and cause his death. She said, "Stop it, this is not nice behavior." An irate villager said, "Get out of the way, you little brat, and let me kill that fucking demon for ruining our lives." "No. Mommy said it's not nice to hit people. Stop or I will tell your mommy." The villager spat on the girl before swinging down his pitchfork, saying, "Yeah, well my mommy is dead because this brat was born 6 years ago. So now who are you going to tell? He would murder the demon if it were his final act, regardless of whether she was collateral damage or not. And when I finally kill the demon, the village will immortalize me by putting my head on the fucking rock, not the damn Hokages who decided that just because they are strong as fuck, they get their faces on a monument. Yes, the Great Boke Kasu Shrine. That has a good ring to it." Another Hyuga member exclaimed, "Not now Boke, we need to kill the demon, gentle fist art, air palm." He struck Naruto in the heart. The young child was just experiencing a sight that she could only observe in terror. 50 adults who are fully grown decide that beating up a small child would be enjoyable. Madara Uchiha and some of Konoha's most ardent adversaries, whom she has read about, would never have considered taking such a savage action. But here they were, attempting to kill a child for no other reason than that he had been born. The sight of it was unbearable to her. She fought back tears as she thought, "Ino, please hurry up and get some help, I can't watch this anymore." She soon reached a breaking point and rushed to Naruto's aid. In the meantime, the small girl with the blonde hair called out to her mother, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." The other blonde addressed her tiny daughter, who was now known as Ino, saying, "What is it, Ino-chan? Mommy's kinda busy right now." Ino pulled her mother's hand to tell her to accompany her, saying, "Please, can you come help me? Some big bad guys are hurting a little kid. We need to go now or else he will be hurt very bad." "Ino, wait, I'm sure nobody is that big of a meanie that they would hurt a kid. I'm sure you just saw something that wasn't true." It was somewhat surprising to Ino that her own mother would dismiss such a thing. She has always been told to report any wrongdoing to her and they will work together to put an end to it. This time, she wasn't going to fall so easily because she knew exactly what she saw. "No mommy, Ino knows what I saw. Some big bad men were hurting a little kid, now please come with me so we can help him." Ino begged her mother to do so. "Remember you told me that if I saw something to come and tell you right away. Well, I saw it. Please come help us, the little kid is being hurt and I want to help." According to Ino's mother, who patted her on the head, "Calm down Ino, I'll be right there. Just let me finish talking to my friend over here and then I'll come." As Ishida fled with her kid, her friend remarked, "No need Ishida, go help your daughter, it seems like she really needs it." As the designated guardian of Naruto in the absence of Minato, Kushina, Makoto Uchiha, or Jiraiya, Ishida Yamanaka was one of the few individuals in the village who never treated Naruto with contempt. She was really the first to alert Hiruzen to the possibility of an attack on Naruto, since he appeared at the flower store one day with numerous bruises. Being the character that he was, Naruto attempted to dismiss it as a nasty fall, but as a Yamanaka, she was able to see through the flimsy lie more clearly than a Byakugan could see chakra points. But when they met, she decided to keep that information to herself out of consideration for both Naruto and Kushina. She had always admired the blonde and hoped that he and Ino would cross paths. Please don't be what I believe it will be. Chaos would ensue if Kushina-chan learned of this. Ishida pondered. Next she looked at her daughter. "So Ino, where did you see the attack?" "I saw it while my new friend Sakura and I were walking to the big party. We didn't know where to go so we went by the old houses and we saw big bad guys with big pointy sticks and cutting thingies. Sakura went to help while I went to get some help," Ino clarified. Ishida inquired, "Did you say old houses?" "Yes mommy, very old houses. I think the only people that live there are old people." "This is terrible, fuck. Very, very, very terrible." Fortunately, Ino was not present when she was caught in the gunfire, but the community has already gone too far. Attempting to murder a child for simply existing. Had Minato, Obito, Jiraiya-sensei, or Kushina-chan witnessed this, the villages would have been at war. Well, Ishida thought. Being Minato's comrade while being trained by the renowned Sannin Jiraiya. Over the years, Ishida had gotten to know Minato extremely well and even fought Kushina for his affection while still being good friends with her. She continued to have close friendships with both Minato and Kushina, despite the fact that she eventually lost the love of the strong and attractive Namikaze. Her recalled in particular how thrilled Kushina was to meet Ino, who had always wished that her and Naruto would be friends. Unfortunately, the Yamanaka clan started to feel afraid of Naruto and the consequences of dealing with him after it was revealed that he was the Fox's Jinchuriki. Ishida was only able to visit Naruto once since none of the main members had any particular animosity toward the boy, but they were wary of him. Being near Naruto, they thought, would make them appear guilty by association, and lead to a Yamanaka uprising or conflict with other, more bigoted clans, such as the Hyuga. Silently cursing the villagers' behavior, Ishida could only be grateful that her daughter was not among the discriminatory ones. She smiled as she turned to face Ino again and then recalled their destination, the rescue of Naruto Uzumaki. As they turned the corner to reach Naruto's position, Ino said to her mother, "Mommy, they were just around here." Alongside Naruto long before the attack, Naruto had experienced his share of pain, but even he couldn't stand this type of suffering. He could sense a range of emotions from everyone, at least in the past when he was attacked. Anger, grief, contempt, and resentment. This time, however, it was different, far, much worse. He could sense none of those this time. He could handle pain, resentment, rage, and contempt, but not this emotion. Hatred. Naruto experienced hate for the first time in his life. He could sense the hatred that the elders in the town felt for him, the hatred that the peasants had for him, and, worst of all, the hatred that he harbored for himself. He thought, what did I do to deserve this? Because of the animosity. Naruto's only option was to curl up into a ball and hope that this nightmare would end. Then he noticed something more akin to someone. For the first time, someone wanted to keep him safe. Naruto saw a young girl with the most exquisite hair he had ever seen. The young blonde was captivated by the way her pink hair cascaded down to her shoulders, and she was putting herself in danger to keep him safe. She would undoubtedly die defending him unless he took action. "What are you doing? Get out of the way. You will get hurt," he screamed. She turned back and smiled at Naruto, who was merely giving him the expression that he had never seen an angel before. "Mommy said that when someone is getting hurt, they should be protected no matter what. And now I will make sure you don't get hurt anymore." Naruto screamed, "No, please. Get out of the way, they'll hurt you badly." He noticed the 8 trigrams hits approaching him out of the corner of his eye, and his body instinctively moved to protect the female. At this time, Naruto felt as though he was about to die since all of his chakra points were closing down. She exclaimed, "You big meanies," loudly and clearly. "If you don't stop hurting him I will tell the Hokage." "Actually Sakura-chan, you don't need to tell me anything." Sakura and Naruto turned to see the elderly Hokage surrounded by 2 distinct Anbu ninjas. Naruto could never remember a positive encounter with the Anbu, despite having his share of them. He tried to shield Sakura from those he perceived as harmful by putting his arms around her in self-defense. Despite her obvious disbelief, Sakura Haruno blushed at the gesture. No matter what happened to him, this little kid wanted to make sure she was safe. However, it simply aggravated her because she felt obligated to do more for him. Turning at the assailant, the elderly Hokage said, well, Yaraman Hyuga. I assume it was you who ordered the mob on Naruto-kun. I wonder how your brother would feel about this revelation." "Who is this Naruto-kun you speaketh of? I only know this bitch as Demon Brat or Kyuubi Slut. All other names are invalid, and I will be the hero of the village by cleansing this filth. Plus I don't see why you're defending this little fucker, Hokage-sama. In fact, wasn't it the 9 Tails himself that killed your wife?" Yaraman replied. However, Hiruzen ignored the final sentence. No, he still believed that Yaraman Hyuga was a criminal because of what she'd done. Furthermore, she had the audacity to use his late wife as an excuse for attempted murder, endangering the safety of children, and numerous other offenses. However, Hiruzen Sarutobi was limited to following the Hokage norm. One of his 2 Anbu ninjas turned to face him. "Karasu-kun, please make sure these people are arrested and taken to Ibiki immediately. I want to know everything that happened. Not just today, but from every attack on Naruto-kun's life. Because I'm sure they all know something about it." Hiruzen was beyond angry. He looked back at Yaraman again. "If you ever, and I mean ever, try to use my wife as justification for trying to kill a child, so help me God I don't care what the rules say. The only way you're going back home to your family is in a body bag." After Hiruzen completed the threat, the Anbu member took action. Even though he easily repelled the peasants, Yaraman still had time to launch 2 more attacks. Sakura and Naruto, respectively. 8 trigrams. 64 palm. Exclaimed Yaraman. As Naruto collapsed to the ground, utterly unconscious and on the brink of death, she took care to hit every chakra point this time. Together, the other villagers stabbed Naruto in spots that even Madara Uchiha would recoil at. Ultimately, Naruto's body was covered with scars and gashes, rendering his original skin nearly completely gone. Sakura shouted, "No!" and rushed to Naruto, but she was hit by an 8 trigram attack of her own, which almost knocked her out. With a voice so cold it would have had the legendary Madara Uchiha shudder in terror, Karasu declared, "That's it, you piece of shit, you're fucking dead." Kaden. Fireball Jutsu. The Anbu charged at her, launching the biggest fireball she had ever seen. It was too late for Yaruman to duck. She was deader than the queen after the Anbu's onslaught melted off her entire face. In order to avoid upsetting the Hokage further, the other members of the Merc Naruto squad immediately scattered. But it was too late. Anbu encircled them all and took them into custody on charges of hate crimes, attempted murder, and possession of a lethal weapon. Sakura begged, Naruto-kun, please don't die, she then sobbed and embraced her savior. Two more approached, but she kept sobbing into his chest. Sakura instantly shifted into a defensive stance, which lasted until the two turned the corner. As she continued to draw her mother to the area, Ino exclaimed, "He's right here, Mom." Neither of them could comprehend what they both witnessed. With wounds so deep that the fucking bone could be seen, Naruto lay there in a pool of his own blood. But neither Ino nor Ishida found that unexpected. The little girl was grieving over him as if she had lost her sibling, and she was doing everything she could to try to stop the bleeding. That was the unexpected part. As she approached her companion, Ino said, "Sakura, what's wrong?" Sakura sobbed onto Ino's bosom. He saved my life, and I couldn't do anything to help him." Ino felt a sense of sympathy for her new acquaintance. She would never again be more than 2 inches from the person who saved her life. Here, however, Sakura was the victim, and her hero lay in a pool of what could only be his own blood. In addition, he was oozing an odd orange chakra. Ino shouted, "Mommy, look out," as her mother stooped to attempt to lift Naruto. Orange stuff is coming out of his body. Ino appeared frightened. She had seen chakra before, but it had never been orange. This child was odd, though, because it was constantly blue or some shade of blue. With her mother close by, the orange chakra that was flowing from him was enough to traumatize Ino. She was also unable to allow Sakura to witness the transformation of her hero. But all of her worries about the chakra were allayed by a few words. Ishida said, "Calm down, my daughter. That chakra is just assisting him." Ino prayed to God that Naruto wouldn't meet Kami too soon and inquired, "So will he be okay, Mommy?" "We can only hope, Ino-chan, but from what I can see, if he doesn't get hospital attention immediately, he won't make it. I can only fear for the people who attacked them. If the Sandame hasn't done anything about it, I fear the wrath of the only thing worse than the 9-tailed fox." Ishida was unable to resist the terror of the image in her mind. A picture shows Kushina Uzumaki losing her mind over her classmates for calling her a tomato. She loved her only son more than life itself, and you can only imagine what she could do to the village who killed him. Dear God, Konoha would be in worse shape than when Madara Uchiha assaulted the village if Hiruzen did nothing to improve the current state of affairs. Ishida yelled to her daughter, "Ino, come quickly. Please help me get him to the hospital. I need to go get his mommy." Ino leapt to her feet and ran to retrieve Naruto off the floor. When she saw how much flesh was exposed and how much blood was seeping out of his body, she felt like throwing up. Little one would ever want to injure their worst enemy with these kinds of wounds, but here they were, on a child little older than her. He was beaten almost to death as though he were the Shinigami's reincarnation. Like Sakura before her, Ino was moved to tears by the sight. Ino said softly, "Sakura-chan, can you come help me? He's a bit too heavy to pick up." Sakura ran to Naruto's aid and attempted to lift him off the ground. They could eventually raise Naruto with both of their strengths, but it wouldn't be long until they ran out of energy and fell to the ground. To the mindscape of Naruto, Naruto asked himself, where am I? With a mixture of fear and curiosity at his current location. He was surrounded by a huge metal cage inside a filthy sewer. The sight made Naruto shudder, and he attempted to shout his way out. Naruto screamed, "Help, someone, please, anyone," in the hopes that someone would hear him. A voice called out from the cage, "What the fuck are you doing in here, you little brat?" Naruto was so startled that he nearly cowered. Scared almost to death, Naruto said, Who are you?" The voice screamed, "I am the 9-tails, you brat. Now open this fucking seal and let me out so I can be free again." "9-tails?" Naruto was experiencing a panic attack at this time. "Yes, you insolent brat. How many times do I have to spell it out for you? I am a fox with 9 tails and you are nothing but a whiny little pansy with nothing better to do in life than to get the living shit beat out of you. Now, let me out so I can heal your sorry ass to make sure you don't goddamn die on everyone," the fox screamed at the top of its lungs. Naruto had already experienced this kind of rage after witnessing the peasant's identical expressions. He didn't shy away from the fox this time, though. Instead, he chose to embrace the challenge, understanding that he could only protect his mother and now Sakura by developing a friendship with the fox. "Listen here, you overgrown furball. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I will be the next Hokage Daibyo. So bow down and respect me like the little tiny fox you are. Naruto replied with assurance. In the distance, an enigmatic figure murmured, "You have no idea how much that puts a smile on my face, do you, son?" Naruto questioned the nine tails. Huh? Did you just call me Zon, Foxy? Grr, Minato. Let me out of here. In Naruto's mindscape, the fox was only able to shout out the other man's name. Minato cheekily smiled and said, Now, Kurama, no need to get all fussy. Can't a father spend some time with his son?" Totally unaware of how his comments affected his son, who was seated right next to him. Dad. Yes, Naruto. I am your father, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. The man in front of Naruto just identified himself as his father, and he stood there dumbfounded. The guy Naruto had always looked up to, the man his mother had always praised regardless of the circumstances of his upbringing, the man who sacrificed his life to save the town, and the man whom everyone in the village revered and admired above all others. His father was that man. The fourth Hokage was Minato Namikaze. The only word Naruto could utter was, Dad? Minato drew Naruto in for an embrace, and Naruto just stood there dumbfounded. Yes, Naruto, I'm really here. I am your father. Every time his mother showed him even the smallest amount of affection, he had experienced the same emotion. This felt different, though. Like a parent who has been gone to a war and returned without any wounds or scars and longs to see their son. When Minato saw his son's appearance for the first time, tears running down his cheeks, Naruto could only melt into his father's arms. Kurama yelled, "Tired of all the lovey-dovey bullshit that goes on, Minato. Stop with the mushy shit. I can't stand it when you shitheads think you're so much better than us. I had to deal with the same fucking shit with Kushina, don't make me suffer the same fate in your brat that you sealed me in." Since it took place in the real world rather than the mindscape, he could overlook it when it happened with Minato and Kushina, but he couldn't stand it. Kurama. One day you'll have little fox vixens of your own and you'll finally be able to see what Kushina-chan and I feel for our son. Minato chuckled at Kurama's expense. The only thing that made Naruto chuckle at his father's expense was Kurama's reprimand, and how am I fucking supposed to do that when I spend my entire lives locked inside filthy humans with cages to hold me back? Think, Minato, you're supposed to be the smartest shinobi to ever exist. Minato's expression wavered as she said, Great, now you got my son laughing at me too. Well, serves you right for locking me inside this brat for over 6 years and it being the reason everyone in this god-forsaken village hates him for life, Kurama replied. It would be an understatement to say that Naruto was taken aback by this discovery. He felt as though a boulder, a bus, and then a train had just struck him. His life had been filled with hatred, which his own father had condemned him to. Kagaya Otsutsuki would have likely crapped her pants after seeing such a life. All he could sense was treachery, but he had a lot of questions. The man who made his life the living misery it was in the first place was also the man he looked up to and who was his father. Naruto's expression changed from one of appreciation to one of rage. His father was likely rendered infertile for the remainder of his afterlife when he ran up to him and kicked him hard in the balls. Minato was only able to wince in agony. Naruto exclaimed, How could you? Your own son? Why did it have to be me? Naruto's tears were now the only thing drowning him. Naruto collapsed into his father's bosom, utterly crushed. Why, Dad? Why me? Why did I have to be the one to nearly kill today? Why did a little girl have to get hurt when trying to protect me? Why couldn't you be here anymore to help me and Mom once more than once? Minato began. Naruto could only inquire, Did you hate me so much that you had to seal a beast inside of me? Kurama merely shuddered when the word beast was mentioned. How he detested being referred to as a beast, as though he lacked free agency. Oi Minato. Control your brat before I break open this fucking cage and devour him alive, Kurama screamed. No Naruto, it's quite the opposite actually. I sealed Kurama inside of you because there was nobody else I could trust to keep the village safe. After your mother's grave injuries in trying to hold off Kurama from destroying all of Konoha, there was nobody else that could contain Kurama's chakra. Only those of the Uzumaki and the Senju clans can contain Kurama, and since your mother's chakra coils have been damaged beyond repair, you were the only one that could keep Kurama contained. I had no other choice, and I could never ask another family to do something that I myself could not. So please, never think that I hated you. I have always loved you, even beyond the grave, Minato clarified. Naruto started to relax. He had not been despised by his father. He was at last able to sleep soundly. With a somber expression, Minato said, "But there is another reason why I sealed Kurama inside of you, Naruto." The reply from Naruto was, "What is it, Dad?" "You're the last hope, Naruto. The last hope of the Namikaze clan." "Nami, what now?" Naruto appeared perplexed by his father's words. He had never heard of the Namikaze clan, but he had heard of numerous clans in Konoha and the shinobi world. "Naruto, as you may now know, you are both a Namikaze and an Uzumaki. However, one thing that has been kept secret was just how powerful each of those clans were back in their primes. Back in the past, the Uzumaki clan was considered to be stronger than the Uchiha clan in terms of raw power. In fact, the only reason they were ever destroyed was because of a massive invasion from Kumogakure, Iwagakure, and Kirigakure out of fear of the Uzumaki Fuinjutsu powers. They feared that one day, the Uzumaki clan would become powerful enough to take on the entire shinobi world, especially with its alliance with Konoha. As such, the attack on Uzushiogakure was ordered, leading to the massacre of the Uzumaki clan, with your mother being one of only 3 survivors. Minato broke down in tears. He chose not to subject a 6-year-old to such information because he could still visualize the atrocities that occurred in Uzu, particularly given Kushina's explicit portrayal of them. Naruto said, "Where the fuck is this going, Dad?" "Language, son, and there is a point to this story. The point is that one of those 3 survivors happened to be your mother. She was only 5 years old at the time of the attack on Uzushiogakure during the Second Great Ninja War, but the horrors she's seen there has shaped her into the woman I fell in love with. She takes great pride in her friends, her family, and will do whatever she can to protect you, my son, so always remember that." Minato went on. "As for the Namikaze clan, we were once heralded as the second strongest clan in Konoha, behind only the Uchiha clan. Using our speed and ninjutsu capabilities, we would constantly be the clan on the front lines during the First and Second Shinobi Wars, as well as during the small skirmishes that took place. We had never lost a single battle and we took pride in being Konoha shinobi. However, it wasn't the speed or the ninjutsu skills that made us once so feared. That honor comes from the Namikaze clan dojutsu, called the Jogan, or the Pure Eye. The Jogan is a dojutsu so rare that it has only been awakened by 3 members of the Namikaze clan to date, and the only way to awaken it is to nearly die. Those 3 members were Kaiza, Ishida, and Minato Namikaze. Naruto was told. Naruto cried aloud, "If the Namikaze clan was so strong, then why am I the only one left?" All Minato could do was sigh, trembling as he recalled the tale his parents had told him. One day, a rogue shinobi infiltrated Konoha and massacred the entire clan. The shinobi was heralded as a wielder of the Byakugan, a dojutsu native to the Hyuga clan, but there have been no Hyuga members that have gone rogue in the past 70 years, while the massacre took place nearly 50 years ago. My guess is that it could either have been someone who killed a Hyuga and took their Byakugan, or someone from the Hyuga clan that was perceived dead has been alive this whole time. Kaiza and Ishida Namikaze, better known as the first Jogan wielders, were the only known survivors of the massacre, just so happened to be my parents, according to Minato. Naruto was taken aback. For a long time, he thought he was simply a young brat who was only there to be the village's punching bag and nothing more. He is now aware of his ancestry as the son of one of the greatest shinobi in history and the last surviving member of one of the most powerful clans in history. This realization made him feel both incredibly proud and extremely angry, proud of himself and angry at Konoha for ruining the Namikaze legacy, concealing his true ancestry, and making the past 3 years a living misery for him and his mother. Minato placed his hands on Naruto's head and gave him a serious look. "I'm telling you all of this, Naruto, because you are the last hope of the Namikaze clan. The last chance to bring glory to the clan name, and the last chance to bring the Namikaze clan back from the dead." Instead of being the eyes of a man making jokes, these eyes betrayed a man who was begging. Like this was the last opportunity he was giving his community. He begged that his son would stop at nothing to ensure that they didn't let him down again. All Naruto could do was look incredulously at his father. He had been hit by bomb after bomb all this time, and now he was unsure of what to think. At the same time, his dang moral compass understood what was right, even though all he wanted to do was yell, "Fuck the village," for his mistreatment. But since just 3 individuals in the hamlet ever cared enough about him to try to assist, he was not going to forgive them like that. Sakura, his mother, and the Sandaime Hokage. I know this is a lot to take in, Naruto, but I wouldn't be telling you all of this if I didn't think you could do it. You are the one the Toad prophecy spoke of all those years ago, I just know it. I have arranged for my old master and my student to be the ones to train you, especially since your mother can no longer use chakra that well. Minato clarified. But that will not be enough. For one, you will need to master the Jogan, an eye which will not only grant you abilities far beyond even that of the Sharingan, but it also requires great training to master. The Jogan has the ability to be the force of creation or the force of destruction. Hence, it's not an ability to take lightly, and should only be used for good. Can I trust you that you will not let this power fall into the wrong hands? Either yours as a revenge tool or to someone else? Replied Minato. Before experiencing a sudden, intense pain in his right eye, Naruto remarked, "Yes, father, I will do whatever it takes to be worthy of the power." Even a deaf man's ears would bleed from the loud screech he let out as he grasped it in his hands. Minato gasped as the screeching ceased. Naruto Uzumaki's right eye had just changed from its typical cerulean color to a light blue eye with a dark socket surrounding it. The Jogan. Naruto Uzumaki had just unlocked the world's rarest dojutsu, making him the fourth person to do so. At the hospital, in the meantime, a furious Kushina Uzumaki began screaming at the hospital director, "Where the fuck is my son?" The hospital director retorted, "Who's your son? All I know is bitch boy and he's getting treated by our best staff. Plus what would the Kyuubi bitch like you ever want with a child? I thought you were incapable of love." Kushina grabbed the disobedient young jerk by the throat and almost strangled him. "I'm only going to say this one more fucking time. Where the hell is my son? And I swear to God if you call him anything other than his real name, Naruto Uzumaki, you will see why I was referred to once as the Red Death of Konoha. So use your brain for once in your pathetic ass life and tell me where my son is. And so help me God if you fucktards touched a single hair on his head, I will personally see to it that you suffer an even worse fate than he did." The hospital director, choking on his own folly, could hardly say 2 words before passing out. Room 237. While the other hospital employees worked to tend to their deceased director, Kushina ran up to the room where Naruto was being detained. She was startled to find 2 young girls beside his bedside when she arrived, one sobbing into his arms while the other was consoling her companion. The girl, who was screaming into her son's arms, had almost 7 bandages over her body, suggesting that she had just been in a fight. Unfortunately, seeing her son in such a state and the villagers continuously demonstrating that they were the biggest pieces of shit to ever grace this earth made Kushina furious, especially considering all the pain she had endured. Kushina screamed, "What the hell are you girls doing? Get away from him immediately, Datbane," before preparing to charge. After that, Sakura and Ino turned around and raised their hands defensively, declaring that they would not allow anyone to touch their savior today. When Sakura informed Kushina that her son had 2 people willing to sacrifice their lives for him, she appeared to relax a little. "No, we won't let you hurt him. Not after he saved my life. Oh sweetie, I'm not going to hurt him. He's my son, I just wanted to know if he was okay," Kushina replied with a smile. Ino snapped at Kushina, wondering why in the world someone would allow their child to be beaten up by a group of strangers. If he was your son, then why did you let him get beat up by the meanies? They were hurting him like never before and it wasn't until the Hokage came and literally killed one of them that they stopped. So why did you not take care of your son? Ino said. Kushina just stood there in disbelief. The words could only strike her like a series of trains striking her simultaneously. Given that her carelessness at the time would cost her the one positive thing in her life, she understood she had to act quickly to mend the issue with Naruto. While Naruto was in his stupor, Kushina covered him, sobbing uncontrollably. Kushina sobbed into her son's arms, "I'm sorry Naru-kun, I'm so sorry for not being there, Datbane. God, please allow my son to awaken if I have done anything good in this world. If it means he may live a happy and healthy life free from the duties of the fucking village, especially those goddamn civilians, I'll even sacrifice myself." Through her sobs, Kushina questioned, "Girls, what are your names, Datbane?" Ino Yamanaka, Sakura Haruno. Kushina wrapped them in a crushing embrace. Thank you for bringing him here, even if these nurses are all dipshit assholes who can't tell the difference between a kunai and a scroll. And thank you for not treating him like everyone else in this pathetic village does just because he has something that he can't control." This revelation left Sakura and Ino perplexed before they recalled the attack. However, they were still unable to determine the reason. Given that Naruto was arguably the sweetest child in the planet, why was he treated like the village plague? Despite their intense desire to question Kushina about it, they understood that Naruto alone should likely be the source of this information. Particularly someone who might easily manipulate events to paint the village in a negative light. It wouldn't be pleasant to have their worst fears validated, even if they already believed that the hamlet was full of crazy people who would stop at nothing to achieve their goals based on what they had witnessed. Sakura, the daughter of the richest people in Konoha history, and Ino, the daughter and heir of the Yamanaka clan, had both led opulent lives. The dark side of the village, which would damage any hamlet's reputation, was presented to them for the first time. What else could this hamlet do if it was actively supporting the attack and injury to a 6-year-old boy? The room was filled with a shrieking voice that startled both of them out of their reverie. A voice called out, "Sakura Haruno! Why are you in the room with the demon?" It was Mebuki Haruno, Sakura's mother and the leader of the civilian council. The majority of the Konoha armaments industries were owned by Mebuki Haruno, a rather well-off businesswoman. Many ninja would stock up on her high-quality swords, shuriken, and kunai before embarking on missions. Her wealth would increase so quickly that she and Kazashi Haruno could compete with some of the wealthiest clans in Konoha, including the Aburame, Inuzuka, and Akamichi clans. But above all, she was the most outspoken member of the civilian council group that sought to assassinate Naruto Uzumaki for harboring the demon fox. Since the love of her life decided to marry Kushina rather than her and she was forced to live with Kazashi Haruno, the actual simp god, she had harbored a strong animosity for the Namikaze and Uzumaki clans. She made it her personal goal to make Naruto's life a living misery after learning that Minato had passed away and that the Kyuubi was sealed inside his and Kushina's offspring. In addition to killing the Kyuubi for what it done to the community, it was also a means of retaliating against Minato and Kushina. When she encountered the one person she detested more than Naruto, things took a turn for the worst. Well, if it isn't the Red Death of Konoha. I wonder if they call you that for your success as a shinobi or that your hair is so goddamn bright that it would kill a person just by burning their eyes from looking at it too long. Mebuki made a sarcastic comment. Mebuki, now is not the fucking time. Considering my son is nearly dead and your daughter is wrapped up in bandages, do you really think it's the time to do this? Replied Kushina. Thinking that her blonde savior could not possibly be some ferocious monster, Sakura said curiously, "Who's this demon you keep talking about?" He was arguably the most distant thing from a monster that anyone with a barely working brain could easily point out, and for crying out loud, he had just saved her life. Do you not remember the attack on the village 6 years ago? The day where the beast itself attacked and killed thousands of villagers, including the 4th Hokage himself. The day where your grandparents gave their lives to save a group of villagers. That damn demon fox has been reincarnated as a boy. This delusional person keeps on believing that this little shit is her son, yet I do not see any similarity to them besides their last name. Who knows, maybe his father had an affair with a much prettier bitch when he found out what this walking blister of a human actually was. Mebuki growled, hoping to convince her child the way she did. Sakura started approaching her mother, which Kushina compared to 50 daggers piercing her heart. Despite her son's nature, she felt for the first time that someone had truly cared about him. However, it appeared that her lack of knowledge about Naruto's true identity was the only reason she gave him any thought. But when Sakura gave her mother the greatest bitch slap ever, those thoughts were put to rest. Slap. Sakura would send her mother essentially through a wall, creating a loud noise that could be heard throughout the hospital. If this had been any other circumstance, Sakura would have been totally messed up by everyone, but hearing from her own mother, whom she admired for always doing the right thing no matter what, would have shown her the way. Because of something he couldn't control, that person was here attempting to make her despise a child who had just saved her life. Sakura inquired, "Kushina-san, how old is Naruto?" "He was born the very day the Kyuubi attacked the village and was released from my body. The fox itself was only released 30 minutes after he was born," said Kushina. "So that means someone else was behind the attack, and yet you sit here, mother, and continue to be ignorant to the fact that he is the same age as me, born on the same day as the attack itself, and think he is capable of causing mass destruction. I think you should familiarize yourself with a concept known as common sense. It occurs when someone uses their brain before acting rather than just acting based on emotions." Sakura snapped, yet maintained her composure so that her mother could hold on to every word she said. "Sakura Haruno, that is no way to talk to your mother like that. I demand you step away from the demon, or I swear to God that I will personally make your life a living hell for continuing to associate with that abomination of a creation." Mebuki said. "Ino was the one who lost it this time. Haruno-san, I mean this with no disrespect." "Wait, scratch that, I mean this with all the disrespect when I say you are quite possibly the single most brain-dead person in the village. First off, you know that he wasn't even an hour old when the QB attacked, and unless you choose to be deaf, Kushina-san just stated that the attack from the fox was an attack from some outside person. I don't know which part of that was unclear to you, but unless you can provide some decent proof of why he's this so-called demon, I suggest you shut your damn mouth before things end badly for you. Ino replied to Mebuki's threats. Who are you and what gives you the right to speak to me? Where are your parents and do they not care that you associate with this thing? This woman's delusions have clearly clouded your sense of judgment, because no self-respecting adult would even associate with the creature. Mebuki replied with a voice full of rage. Kushina was furious. Even though she had detested Mebuki since they were young, this was a whole new level of hatred. Kushina found it incomprehensible that someone would attempt to portray herself as delusional for taking care of Naruto in the way a mother ought to, even when she knew that Naruto was, in fact, her son. She lost it at this point. Look, Mebuki, I know I stole Minato-kun from you, but next time you try to even raise the thought that my son doesn't deserve to be loved, I will personally rip off your tongue and shove it up your pussy so that you can never take another dick in there again. Kushina made a threat. Now I want you to nod if you understand, and so help me God if you dare to make a sound, I will personally make sure those are the last words you ever speak coherently. Mebuki could only nod in terror, but Sakura and Ino were both intrigued by the name Minato and attempted to remember where they had heard it previously. At last, Ino said, "Wait, how did you know the Yondaime, Kushina-san?" In response, Kushina said, "He was my husband." Then for Sakura, everything made sense. She only needed to know those 4 words to understand Naruto's identity and the reason behind his QB curse, which imprisoned him inside. Sakura began, "Wait, so that means..." When Naruto awoke from his coma, he declared, "He was my father." In the meantime, in the office of the Hokage, Hiruzen questioned his Anbu, "So any word on the Uchiha clan and their state?" The clan still plans to go through with the coup. Unfortunately all talks have stalled out, and especially those with my father. He seems determined to go through with the revolution and obtain as much power as possible from the village. The Anbu said that this wasn't the worst thing that he said. Unfortunately, he has drawn his inspiration from the teachings of Madara Uchiha, and aims to build the village as per Madara's wishes. Hiruzen was struck more severely by the final portion of the message than by any other nuke. When he first learned about Madara's betrayal of the village and how Hashirama Senju, the Shodai Hokage and arguably the greatest shinobi of all time, almost died in battle with him, he was still a small boy. He now had to learn that the clan that is most crucial to the village's prosperity and success is trying to topple the chain of command, potentially spark a civil war in the process, put everyone's lives in danger, and, worst of all, rebuild the village as Madara Uchiha had intended. The primary foe of Hashirama Senju's will of fire was Madara Uchiha. This philosophy has been transmitted to all subsequent Hokage generations. But no one could ever fully embody the will of fire like Hashirama did at one point. He had such a strong desire to protect the village that he had to stand up to his own best friend and the village co-founder in order to make sure that Madara wouldn't harm everyone he cared about. The village clans and Hashirama embraced the village interests overall ethos, also known as the will of fire. Every clan, with the exception of the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan has been taught over the years that loyalty to their clan is far more significant than loyalty to the village. Although some members of the clan, like Kagami Uchiha, have strayed from the clan's beliefs and taken up the will of fire, the majority of the clan still values the Uchiha name above all else. Madara Uchiha personally implanted this idea in them. Tobirama Senju came to power after he betrayed the village and Hashirama was forced to resign as Hokage. Fearing another Madara would emerge, he imposed some restrictions on the Uchihas that were unpopular with most of the clan, particularly the creation of the Konoha police force, which would be controlled by the Uchiha clan. That would, however, momentarily alter when Kagami Uchiha assumed leadership of the clan. Kagami, in contrast to most of the clan, believed that the village was more significant than the clan and wanted to establish a clan that was deserving of the moniker Konoha Shinobi. The clan experienced a significant transformation in the village's perception under Kagami's leadership, and it even began to regain the respect of the people there while aggressively attempting to ensure the village's safety. Unfortunately, after Kagami was assassinated and Fugaku Uchiha assumed leadership of the Uchiha clan's responsibilities, everything took a turn for the worst. Fugaku Uchiha started to distance the clan from the rest of the community again since he was a strong supporter of the Madara Uchiha philosophy over the will of fire. In an effort to seize the role of Hokage and elevate the Uchiha way to the fore in the village, he employed the Uchiha police force as a tool for intimidation and power consolidation. He felt betrayed when Minato Namikaze was chosen to be Hokage instead of him, but he still reluctantly respected Minato because the clan's reputation at least remained intact under Minato, and Fugaku even served as Minato's right-hand man in an attempt to restore the Uchiha clan to its former glory. Unfortunately, that all changed on the day of the Kyuubi attack, and the Uchiha clan was held accountable for its conclusion because Fugaku Uchiha was the main suspect and the Kyuubi could be controlled by the Mangekyo Sharingan. Hiruzen was therefore compelled to limit the clan to a section on the outside of the village after being persuaded by the Elder Council that it was too dangerous to have them running around unattended. Fugaku Uchiha's hand was forced by this imprisonment and consequent social rejection, so he started planning a coup d'état against the village in order to seize power. Fortunately for Konoha, the council had Itachi, the son of Fugaku Uchiha, as a spy inside the clan. "Thank you for the news, Itachi, and indeed this is far worse than I had imagined. I know Fugaku was an avid believer in Madara's teachings, but I never thought he would go so far as to try and rebrand the village under Madara's philosophies. You know what this means, right?" Hiruzen said, desperately wishing it wouldn't come to that. "Yes, I do, Hokage-sama, and I understand the assignment perfectly. This may hurt me gravely, but I will do whatever it takes to make sure Konoha is protected. All I have is one request," Itachi replied. Hiruzen inquired, "And what might that be?" "I need you to make sure no harm will ever befall Sasuke. He's the only person I would ever consider betraying Konoha for, and if I hear that one of the Elder Council has placed their hands on him, either to turn him into a breeding machine or to extract his eyes, I will not hesitate to fucking nuke this entire village. I need the constant assurance that Sasuke will be safe and free from the shackles of Konoha, especially that slimeball Danzo." Itachi laid out his one and only request, ensuring that Hiruzen knew precisely what was being asked of him. Hiruzen reassured Itachi, "I will do everything in my power to secure Sasuke's safety. Oh, and one more thing, for the love of Christ, tell everyone what Naruto has been going through. No child should ever have to suffer through an attack like that in the first place. With this level of bullshit going on in the village, I cannot guarantee Sasuke's safety if the son of their most prized hero is being treated the way he is. I know you're doing what you can to protect him without getting the council pissed, but now's the time to say, fuck the council, because that's the only way they will stop what they're doing to Naruto. And if they can't stop this, then I can't guarantee Sasuke will be safe." Itachi asked. "I know, and I was just heading over to make the announcement. From now on, no more nice guy Hiruzen Sarutobi. I will ensure that this village is held accountable for what they did, because this is not right at all, and nothing close to what Minato sacrificed himself for. I can only blame myself for failing to take care of him, which I'm sure his family will make no stops in knowing exactly what I did wrong here." Hiruzen sighed. "If that is all, you are free to go. Meet me tomorrow by the Hokage Mountain to get started on your assignment." Itachi reflected about his best friend and the only other opponent to the Uchiha revolution he knew, saying, "Very well, Hokage-sama. If only Shisui was still alive today, he would have known what to do in this situation without spilling any blood." Shisui exemplified the ideal shinobi, someone who did everything in their ability to guide the next generation to continue the family's history while fighting to defend their home and family. But he was much more than that to Itachi. He had a special place in his heart for only 5 people. The last 4 are his younger brother Sasuke, his parents, and his girlfriend. Since doing the unthinkable was the only way to put an end to the coup, this was the reason it had hurt him so much to have to do what he had to. Murder his parents. Since Madara Uchiha chose to leave the village, Itachi would be labeled the greatest traitor in Konoha history, forcing him to make the ultimate sacrifice. What he would have to accomplish would be far worse than even the most infamous of the fabled Sannin Orochimaru. All of this was done to shield his younger brother Sasuke from the village's horrors in the hopes that Sasuke would one day become powerful enough to save Itachi from his suffering. He had to make Sasuke despise his whole life first, though. However, Sasuke regarded his older brother as a deity among men, so this was no simple feat. Sasuke had always aspired to be like Itachi, someone who, just by being around people, commanded their respect. Making history by being the youngest person to join the Anbu, one of the few people to compete in and win the Chunin examinations on their own, and the youngest Anbu captain ever. With the birth of Itachi Uchiha, the clan killer, all of that would be erased. Another voice, that of Danzo Shimura, one of the elder council members and Hiruzen Sarutobi's right-hand man, emerged from the shadows. We know we are asking a lot of you, Itachi, but unfortunately this is the only way to ensure peace is kept within the village. I really had hoped it would not come to this, but you'll have to kill your entire family. We can't risk the clan rising up again, so to ensure that, everyone, and I do mean everyone, needs to be killed. I can finally obtain those blasted Sharingan and use them effectively when Itachi eliminates the clan. When they let me become Hokage, those little jerks will be able to aid Konoha for good. Why not slaughter a few more members of that damned clan? I've already slain that bastard Shisui and taken his Koto Amatsukami. They would never give up everything for Konoha, especially after Kagami was slaughtered by that jerk Fugaku. Danzo pondered. After his buddy and close comrade Kagami Uchiha was assassinated by Fugaku, the clan's current leader, he developed a strong animosity toward the Uchiha clan. Even though Fugaku was found guilty of the crime, the clan was not formally indicted because Fugaku had mobilized and won over many civilian council members by promising them the chance to marry into the clan and rise in social standing. Danzo, don't you think killing the entire clan is a little extreme? Hiruzen inquired. You're too fucking soft, Hiruzen. What do you think will happen if only the members planning the coup have been killed? Do you expect these brainless fucktards to actually think rationally? Literally the only 3 members of the clan that I've seen think with their brains instead of with their eyes were Kagami, Itachi, and Obito. 2 are dead and 1 is in charge of the extermination of the clan. There are still a good amount of people who don't know about the coup, nor who all are actively in the plot. What do you think will happen when a random 13-year-old just comes up to them and starts killing their loved ones? We will have another coup in our hands and that time there will be no Itachi to stop it. We need to get rid of the entire clan now, or else we'll be royally fucked in the near future, especially from the surviving members if we choose to not kill everyone. Danzo argued, presenting a surprisingly rational argument to which Itachi couldn't even identify his errors. Remember what happened with Orochimaru? That's the same shit that will happen again if you don't get rid of the problem at its roots. Stunned, Hiruzen recalled his former pupil and how, despite his crimes against humanity being made public, he still couldn't bring himself to imprison his favorite pupil. In an effort to track down Orochimaru and prosecute him, numerous shinobi have either vanished or perished. Hiruzen was aware that Danzo was correct in this case, but he was unable to acknowledge it. Hiruzen said, Danzo, there must be a way to save at least the children. At the background, a voice remarked, there isn't. I listened to the whole conversation, and what Danzo-sama is saying is the only way this makes sense. When Obito came in wearing his Akatsuki attire, Danzo and Itachi were standing there with their guns drawn. Hiruzen surprised both Danzo and Itachi by asking, Obito, good to see you're back. How'd the meeting go with the Akatsuki? Itachi and Danzo both yelled, Oh Obito. As in Obito Uchiha, I thought he was dead. Obito and Hiruzen could only giggle in response. While lying on the ground, Obito remarked, my death was greatly exaggerated. Obito is my personal spy for what goes on beyond the walls of Konoha. Normally, he reports to me through Jiraiya, but he does sometimes deliver the reports himself when he either has big news or wants to check up on the village. Hiruzen elaborated, it's because of him that we have been able to monitor the Akatsuki movements, especially because of their main goal being the 9 Biju, they will come for Konoha eventually. With him feeding me all the information, we can be better prepared for when they do. In an attempt to find a solution to spare the people he cared about, Itachi questioned, but what do you mean there's no other alternative than wiping out the entire clan? Just as Danzo-sama said, if you think about this rationally, there is not a single situation where the Uchiha clan, a clan known for relying heavily on their emotions, will not retaliate when they see someone killing off their clan members. This will not only cause lots of tension between the Uchiha and Konoha, but other clans would be in fear of the leadership at the top, or would find some other way to release their anger if word got out about the massacre being as a result of a revolution. If the entire clan is killed, that minimizes the backlash that is completely inevitable if even 3 members of the clan are left alive. Obito clarified. Everyone thinks I'm dead, you're being set up as the fall guy, what do you think will happen if someone is left alive? A happy life? Fuck no. The best possible scenario is that the bastard left alive will be placed in the CRA and be spoiled rotten by the village known for relying on their emotions as much as the Uchiha clan does. Once that happens, That motherfucker will only grow to either hate everyone and everything, or will be turned into nothing more than a fucktoy for the village civilians looking to increase their status within Konoha. If either one of those things happen, the Uchiha name will be tainted beyond repair. Obito continued. Itachi replied gravely, so there really is no other option, huh? Everyone has to die. Everyone recognized the truth based on the expressions on their faces. Danzo and Obito made too much logic to be false, despite everyone's best efforts to deny it. The clan had gone so far that there was no turning back, and the only way to save it was to do the absolute unimaginable. Kill every member of the Uchiha clan. Itachi swallowed his pain and spoke out loud, I'll do it. I'll kill everyone. I just have one request, and I would like you all to agree to this. What is it, my boy? Inquired Hiruzen. I would like to keep Sasuke alive. He has no idea of what's going on, and I wouldn't be able to live with myself knowing that he was a victim of the actions of the clan. So please, as my last and only request as Itachi Uchiha of Konoha, allow me to keep Sasuke alive. Itachi begged. Hiruzen glanced at Obito and Danzo, who both nodded in agreement. Fine. Wish granted. Sasuke will be kept alive to be the only remaining member of the Uchiha clan within Konoha. I will also do my best to ensure that Sasuke grows up to be just like you, Itachi. Someone who commands respect from the village because of his skills, not because of his bloodline. Hiruzen replied. Itachi said, mentally bracing himself for the torment he would have to go through for the rest of his life, thank you Hokage-sama. I will be taking my leave now. Itachi was preparing to leave when a panting figure rushed through the door. The nurse exclaimed, Hokage-sama, it's Naruto. Hiruzen inquired, what is it, Tsubaki-san? What about Naruto? Before passing out from tiredness, Tsubaki said, he has woken up, he's still alive. But Obito couldn't get those final 3 sentences out of his head. Obito seemed enraged. What did she mean? He's still alive, Hokage-sama. What the fuck did I tell you about ensuring that Naruto was not in any harm? Now you have these fucktards coming in here and saying, he's still alive. What does that mean? Did you expect him to die for this shit? I'm sorry Obito, but right after you left, a group of villagers led by the Hyuga clan attacked Naruto and another little girl. They had intentions of killing Naruto as they believed that doing so would hail them heroes of the village on the level of Minato-san. The girl received critical, but not life-threatening injuries, however Naruto was less fortunate. Hiruzen wasn't able to apologize enough. The disclosures left Danzo with nothing to do but sigh. This is why you should have let me draft that little bastard into the root. He could have at least learned how to fucking defend himself if it was under my tutelage. But no, you and that annoying ass redhead had to go and insist that Naruto have a normal life. Now look what that has gotten. He spit. Danzo, for the last time, I will not turn Naruto into a mindless weapon for Konoha and your personal army. That is not what Minato-san wanted for him. Hiruzen made a clear statement. At this rate, Naruto will not be a mindless weapon. He will simply be mindless. Obito said, what the fuck are you going to do about this Hokage-sama? Remember, my allegiance to Konoha is conditional. If Naruto remains safe and happy, then I see no reason to attack. However, once I find out that this toilet of a village has ruined Naruto's life beyond repair, then say fucking goodbye. Konoha has already given me so many bad memories, and once the one thing tying me back to the good times with Minato-sensei, Kushina-san, and Kakashi is gone, there will be no turning back. I expect, no demand, change from this village, because you know what happens if it doesn't. I do, and I'm going to ensure this shit doesn't happen again. Just you wait, Hiruzen said. Before Hiruzen could finish his sentence, Obito had already departed, hurrying to the hospital. In particular, he had to be there for everyone he still cared about and make sure everything was alright. In the medical facility, Kushina, Ino, and Sakura were gathered around Naruto's bed, listening to his narrative with great interest when Obito hurried up to his room. Naruto made a series of hand gestures in the air and remarked, and then he was like, you're the last hope of the Namikaze clan, before telling me to master some shit called the Jogan. The 3 women turned around as Obito stated, sounds exactly like what sensei told me. Kushina then pulled out her kunai. Who the hell are you? And how do you know this was my son's room? Warned Kushina. Under the mask, Obito said sarcastically, wow, Kushina-san. I'm hurt that you don't remember me. I always thought I was your favorite. A broad smile spread across his face. He took off the mask when he could still feel the animosity in Kushina's gaze. Her voice cracked as Kushina said, "Oh, Obito. Is that you?" Here before her was the person she wanted Naruto to become, and her favorite of her husband's students. It was the same individual who was long believed dead and who had given his life to save his teammates. The real Obito Uchiha. Before turning to face the two girls next to Naruto, Obito said, "It's good to see you again, Kushina-san, and nice to meet you officially, Naruto. I apologize for not being here earlier, but I had a small issue to take care of beforehand, concerning the safety of Konoha itself." Obito questioned, "And who the hell might you be?" Sakura questioned him, "Are you going to hurt Naruto-kun?" "Quite the contrary. I was actually his father's student. A team of 3 consisting of myself, Kakashi Hatake, and Rin Nohara. We were known as Konoha's most feared genin team, with Kakashi himself being one to break many records, including youngest to ever graduate the academy, at the age of 5. Obito laughed as he recalled his long dead. Rin was in line to become the second coming of Tsunade Senju in the medical field, and I was known as the Dobi of the team. What do you mean by, "we're the most feared genin team"? Ino inquired. The doctor entered abruptly after hearing a knock on the door. "How's the patient feeling?" Naruto replied, "Much better now, thanks doc. By the way, do you have any idea when I'll be able to get out of this shithole?" After shouting, "Naruto, watch your language my boy," Kushina struck Naruto's head with a haymaker, causing him to start crying cartoon tears. No, it's okay ma'am. Actually, I was on my way to deliver the good news myself. It seems like his body is responding well to the treatments and he should be cleared for discharge within the next day or two. Honestly, this is surprising, because with the injuries he had, he should have taken much more time to even have a chance of getting better. Nearly all of his chakra points were shut off, with only one continuing to provide chakra to the body. The physician clarified. Both Ino and Sakura questioned, "What does that mean?" "It means that Naruto here is the luckiest son of a bitch alive. From looking at his body, it seems like the last chakra point at the heart was only inches away from being hit. If that point was rendered useless, no amount of medical ninjutsu short of bringing back Tsunade Senju would be enough to save him. If that last strike had connected with the point, Naruto would have been long dead, even if the beast's chakra was keeping him alive." Although Kushina took slight offense at being called a bitch, she eventually learned to completely disregard the term after years of harassment from the locals. But Kurama was less understanding. "Why, Naruto, tell that doctor to shut the fuck up before I take over your body and devour that little shit alive," Kurama screamed. In his mindscape, Naruto remarked, "Easy there Kurama, no need to get offended by such simple words. I'm sure she didn't mean it." Kurama sighed and returned to his slumber, saying, "Fuck it. Next time someone calls me a beast, I won't show mercy. They finna get the special Kurama treatment, being my lunch." Nevertheless, Naruto turned to the doctor after taking Kurama's words to heart. Miss. What is it, Naruto? Just warning you, please do not use the term, beast, in my vicinity. Foxy-kun hates being called a beast. He's giving me a pet name now. Oh no, being referred to as a beast is worse than this. Make me a goddamn beast once more if he's going to call me that. Kurama pondered. Before long, everyone was enjoying themselves and laughing, hearing tales about Kushina's heyday as the red-hot habanero, discussing the past, and learning about Minato's early years. Unfortunately, the Hokage then informed Obito. The Uchiha clan had started to be massacred. The carnage in Uchiha had started. Obito had to be present as Itachi killed the Uchiha clan, with the exception of Sasuke, as he was now on his way to do so. He had to alert Kushina about the situation first, though. "Kushina-san, I need to talk to you in private. This is urgent," Obito said. "What do you need me for datbane?" Kushina inquired, taken aback by Obito's abruptly somber tone. Obito unexpectedly summons Kushina and himself into the Kamui dimension by using his Mangekyo Sharingan. Kushina was initially taken aback by the talent, but after Obito described it, he relaxed. Kushina questioned, "So why the hell did you bring me here, Obito?" As you may know, the Kyuubi attack from 6 years ago was no accident. It was set up by members of the organization that I am currently infiltrating called the Akatsuki. Their goal is to unite the world under fear by having all 9-tailed beasts within their collection, and that's why they attacked all those years ago. Unfortunately, since Minato and I were the only ones who knew the truth of the attack, the blame for the entire night was placed on the Uchiha clan due to the assumption that because Madara Uchiha could control the Kyuubi during his fight with Hashirama, but this could not be further from the truth. In reality, the attack was caused by Rinnegan wielder, someone who is more powerful than every single person we know combined. Obito began to speak. Well then, why didn't anyone fucking say something? Didn't you, Minato-kun, and the Sandaime know this? Why did you all have to subject my son and the damn Uchiha clan to this nonsense? Kushina was furious. As I said before, they needed someone to blame. And that person had to be a reasonable scapegoat or else no one would believe it. The clan itself had a history with controlling the Kyuubi, and Fugaku has the Mangekyo Sharingan, the only known weapon capable of controlling the beast, which made him and the clan the perfect scapegoat. Obito went on to explain. So what does this have to do with the clan being murdered? Said Kushina. After the attack and the scapegoating, the clan itself was segregated to a small part of the village and resentment grew. Particularly among the high-ranking officials of the clan, and Fugaku himself. They felt their voices weren't being heard enough and they had little say in Konoha affairs, which consistently led to the Uchiha being slighted against by the villagers. What I faced from these two-faced bastards is nothing compared to what the clan was facing then. As a result, Fugaku and the higher-ups planned a coup d'état, with Itachi Uchiha being the centerpiece for the revolution. Obito could only frown at this, while Kushina started torn apart. In between the sobs, Kushina questioned, how could they do that to him, Datbane? How could that snake Fugaku do that to his own son? Itachi is no ordinary son. He's one of the 5 greatest prodigies the village had ever seen. Only behind Sensei and Kakashi, but that's besides the point. What he didn't know was that Itachi was secretly feeding the information to Sandaime-sama, and after the death of Shisui Uchiha, the revolution only added fuel to the fire. Itachi has no choice. He needs to kill the clan or else we'd be fucked in the very near future. Obito continued. Kushina could only yell, but why the whole damn clan? What about the people who were not involved? Why not just kill the conspirators? That's the whole issue. Only a few members were involved in the revolution, yes, but because a majority of the clan has no idea what's going on, what do you think they'll do when they see someone from the Hokage's office here killing their families? It needs to be done this way or else we'll have another revolution on our hands in no time, and at that time, neither Itachi nor I would be around to stop it. Everyone needs to be taken care of now to prevent major problems in the future. Obito clarified the strategy, fully comprehending the effects of saying something that was incorrect. Kushina just stood there in disbelief. Since her best friend was Fugaku's wife, Makoto Uchiha, she had been aware of Fugaku's growing dislike for Konoha's top brass, but she never thought it would get this bad. The news brought her to tears. Obito stated, Kushina-san, I just have one request. What is it? Inquired Kushina. As he handed Kushina Makoto's final will and testament, Obito said, please take care of Sasuke, he'll need your guidance for sure. And neither Itachi nor I would be able to take care of him because of our mission concerning the safety of Naruto, Sasuke, and the rest of Konoha in general. Also, just so you know, Itachi will be branded a villain and a rogue in Konoha. That is all part of his cover to infiltrate the Akatsuki. It's absolutely imperative that you do not leak any of this information to anyone in Konoha. I only told this because Sasuke will need it later in his life, as I fear this will leave a bigger scar on him than anything that Naruto has faced. Kushina nodded in agreement, vowing to be Sasuke Uchiha's new mother in a manner that their own behavior was depriving him of. They left the Kamui dimension and rejoined the group after she promised Obito that she would treat Sasuke as if he were her own son. The girls couldn't help but chuckle as Naruto told them some crazy anecdotes, particularly those about the locals' ignorance. Mebuyuki Haruno, meantime, had finally woken up from the stupor that Obito had inflicted on her, and she seized the closest weapon to dispose of the demon, for good. Mebuyuki screamed, "Die you ugly bastard!" and rushed in Naruto's direction. Fortunately for everyone, before Mebuyuki could harm anyone in the room, Kushina appeared from the Kamui dimension and decked her again. Hey Sakura, if you ever want to move out of this hellhole, my home is gladly open to you and anyone else that Naruto likes. So long as you don't fall victim to the villagers, shit, you can stay with us. Kushina-san, if Naruto-kun is the son of the Yondaime, a man regarded as the biggest hero in Konoha history, as well as the only reason the Kyuubi isn't going on a damn rampage right now, why does he still get treated like he betrayed Konoha? Shouldn't he be celebrated and thought of as a hero? Sakura was still grasping Naruto's arm. All I can say is people fear what they don't understand. And aside from a select few, nobody knows that Naruto is Minato-kun's son. They all believe he is the human reincarnation of the Kyuubi and I am just some slave owner or a monster myself. Kushina stated as she cried. Despite her desire to learn more about Naruto's background and the specific events that led to everyone acting in this way, Sakura saw those tears and realized it wasn't the right moment to press the issue. Unfortunately, everyone was completely taken aback by what transpired next. The shouts and screams of both adults and children were the only sounds audible in the distance. Few people in Konoha were aware of the reason for the loud commotion emanating from the Uchiha clan district. They ceased abruptly, as fast as the cries could be heard, simultaneously. The action had been taken. Sasuke, Itachi, and Obito were the only members of the Uchiha clan still alive. A little flashback to just before Fugaku and Makoto's deaths with Sasuke and Itachi. A youngster of about 6 years old was running across the compound of the Uchiha clan. He was overjoyed when his brother agreed to work out with him for the first time in a long time. Sasuke Uchiha had always admired his older brother Itachi, whom he considered to be the source of all the light in his life. Sasuke could always rely on Itachi to support him when no one else was, even if his father worked to destroy the government and neglected his family most of the time, and his mother had retired from ninja work. The young Uchiha was ready to begin his shuriken training, so this time was no exception. On his way out of the shuriken store, he made sure to thank the shopkeeper before rushing home. But there was a problem when he arrived at the Uchiha compound. There was silence, too silent. At this time of day, the Uchiha district, which is typically a hive of activity, was deserted. For a considerable portion of the entrance, no one was visible. Sasuke, though, didn't give it much thought. He had been waiting since he could wield a kunai, and now he was going to practice with Itachi. In an attempt to locate his brother, he hurried home. I get to train with elder brother at last. Father will at last learn to appreciate me for who I am, not for elder brother. Eager to show his family that he was as much of a prodigy as his older brother, if not more so, Sasuke pondered. When Sasuke arrived at his house, he opened the door. The events that transpired could only be characterized as the realization of his darkest nightmare. Itachi himself was standing over his parents' bodies in a pool of their own blood. Elder brother, who did this? You're going to catch the killer, right? Please tell me you're going to catch the killer. Sasuke shouted while weeping. Sasuke halted dead in his tracks when Itachi said, icily, foolish little brother. Elder brother, why aren't you doing anything? Someone killed mother and father and you're standing here doing nothing. Where's the elder brother that said to stop at nothing to do what's right? Where's the elder brother that would do anything to protect his family? Sasuke began to shout. Itachi was not displaying it, but his words were a severe wound. He didn't even know that Itachi was the one who killed their parents, but he knew that he had no choice but to watch his brother's heart break over his deeds. Itachi began, I'm not doing anything because I am the one who killed them. Just like I did with all the Uchihas. Sasuke simply stood there as though he had just been struck simultaneously by a Genjutsu, a Rasengan, a Bijudama, and a Chidori. What Itachi was saying could not possibly be true. No, the Uchiha clan's pride and joy, and thus Konoha's pride and joy, simply chose to muck the entire clan. One man destroyed a clan that had its origins in the early days of Konoha and is widely regarded as the strongest clan in history in the course of one night. The man who once advocated for always doing the right thing and who also happened to be Sasuke's greatest idol. This must have been a single, protracted nightmare. You're lying. You loved mother and father more than anyone. They loved you more than anyone. There's no way you were the one who killed them. Sasuke began to shout. Believe whatever the fuck you want, Sasuke, but the truth is that I killed them. You're too naive and foolish to believe this is possible, but in truth, everything I had done led up to this moment, including making you believe that I was a caring older brother. Itachi replied, deadpanning his brother in the process. Sasuke could not believe a word he was hearing at the moment. What are you saying, elder brother? You're not making any sense. I'm saying that I've always hated you, Sasuke, and I killed the clan because they were getting in my way. Sasuke bellowed so loudly that Naruto, Sakura, Ino, and Kushina could hear him from across town. Getting in your way of what? Growing stronger. You had everything handed to you on a goddamn silver platter and you're complaining about not getting enough help from the clan. For fuck's sakes, father literally gave you your own goddamn shrine and worshipped you every chance he got. He wouldn't even paying attention to me, and yet you still complained that you did not get enough help from them. By this time, Itachi had begun to accept the animosity that Sasuke had started to feel toward him. Listen, Sasuke, there are some things in this world that even the Uchiha clan cannot grant me. Their use has served their purpose, and now it's time for me to get a fresh start. Killing the clan was just one step in my ultimate plan. He really wanted to tell Sasuke the truth, but he was unable to do so. Hearing that his clan, a name he was more proud to wear than anybody else, would ever consider something so evil would break his heart more than anything he had ever heard. He had to put the good of Konoha as a whole ahead of his own wants. Then why did you spare me? You killed the whole damn clan, so why the fuck did you not kill me? At least then I wouldn't have to see this. Sasuke responded with a shot. Because, with tears in his eyes, Itachi thought, I love you more than Konoha itself. He brushed them off and went back to his icy manner. Itachi then flashed his Mangekyo Sharingan at Sasuke, trapping him in the Tsukuyomi where he saw his parents die more than 500,000 times in a matter of seconds. You're not worth killing, Sasuke. You're not powerful enough yet, but I see the potential. You have to be something great. When you finally have the same eyes as me, come and find me. The battle we have will be one for the ages, and I will finish your pathetic little ass off then. Itachi said prior to departing. But when he heard what could only be described as the greatest scream he had ever heard, he was stopped. Clinging to his skull, Sasuke collapsed to the ground. He soon began to experience intense eye discomfort, which Itachi was all too familiar with. His Sharingan was unlocked by Sasuke Uchiha. Itachi Uchiha has finished the first step of his final plan. Outside the boundaries of Konoha with Itachi and Obito. Obito was waiting for Itachi on the outskirts of Konoha, so he headed there. Even though he knew he had to do it, it still didn't feel right. In order for Konoha and Sasuke to be safe, he had to murder his friends, family, and even his girlfriend in cold blood. Itachi declared, it's done. Obito questioned whether they had made the correct decision, asking, what about Sasuke? Did you do what you were supposed to? Itachi, he knew, wanted his brother to become as powerful as he could, but at what price? Obito was not persuaded by Itachi's declaration that, Sasuke will not be a problem. I have instilled all of his hatred onto me, and one day, he will be the one to restore the Uchiha name, as well as become someone proud to stand alongside Konoha until the end of time. And how exactly do you plan on making him hate you forever? Replied Obito. I put him into a genjutsu where I showed him the moment when I killed our parents over 500,000 times. Hopefully that hardens his resolve to not only protect Konoha, but to become as strong as possible to take me down when the time is right. Itachi said, and Obito got rid out of him. Are you fucking stupid? You haven't created the next Konoha defender, for fuck's sakes you created the next Madara Uchiha. Obito screamed, I just know this man finna go out and try and kill everyone who tries to stop him from killing you, so you might as well have just killed yourself after the murder of the clan, cause you're going to die anyway. Sasuke will stop at nothing to kill you. Itachi went pale. What was there about Sasuke that Obito was unaware of? Why did he argue that the best way to do it was not to make Sasuke feel the most agony in the world? And who the hell was he to liken Sasuke to Konoha's most well-known traitor? You're surely mistaken, Obito. I know for a fact that Sasuke will eventually work to defend Konoha, so long as no one tells him the truth about the massacre. If he finds out that I killed the clan under Konoha orders, then he will surely defect and want to kill everyone in Konoha. This way, I at least give Konoha the chance to remain alive and well. Itachi argued, but Obito was not convinced. Look, Itachi, as someone who has met Madara Uchiha and was almost lured into his evil plans, I need to tell you that what you did was almost a carbon copy of what happened to Madara, except his whole family was killed by the Senju clan. Since then, Madara became a bitter and spiteful man obsessed with bringing his family back to life to the point where he was willing to defect from Konoha after reading a stone tablet that promised a world full of love and happiness. I see most of the same qualities in Sasuke that I did when I first met Madara. Someone who will do anything to protect his family and will stop at nothing to see them safe. Noble qualities for sure, but you also need to realize what will happen if their family is killed. I know better than anyone how hard it is to find a new group of people that you can call your family, especially being a Uchiha. Unfortunately, that's just the harsh reality of our clan. Now that you've taken Sasuke's family, his only reason to live and get stronger, away from him, the only thing on his mind will be revenge. Just like what happened to Madara, only worse. Because this time, his family was taken away by someone he looked up to and loved more than anyone, not a person he hated. Obito explained, leaving Itachi shook to the core. Also, the deaths of Madara's loved ones and friends were all gradual and killed off one by one. This happened all in one night where everyone besides us and Sasuke were killed. Not to mention his family's deaths came in the time of war, while ours came in the time of peace. Not only that, but you made him relive that pain. I know for a fact that if we don't fix this, Sasuke is going to turn his back on Konoha. Obito grumbled. Itachi found himself unable to speak as he stood there. It was too logical not to believe what Obito had stated. If his deeds had made Sasuke want to exact revenge on Konoha, he couldn't bear it and decided to direct all of Sasuke's resentment towards him. At the time, it had made logical, but after hearing Obito's explanation, he realized what he needed to do. I'll go speak to Sasuke, hopefully he's willing to hear me out. Itachi said. No, seeing you will only trigger those bad memories again. He needs to hear what happened from an outsider. Preferably the only Uchiha alive that can take you out without a second thought. He needs to know the truth from someone who isn't afraid to be straight with him, and knowing the way you tried to focus his hatred into you, sending you to explain the shit that happened would probably be the worst idea in the world. Even worse than the goddamn council thinking, you know what would be fun? If we made the lives of the only surviving legacies of our goddamn hero into a living hell. Obito scoffed at the final sentence. He was aware of everything the trash the villagers did to try to assassinate Naruto, even if he wasn't there to support his godson and his surrogate mother. He could have done something to stop the hatred, but it hurt to know that the same hamlet he had vowed to defend was full of monsters who would try to kill someone for simply existing. Unfortunately, because of Iwagakure's abnormal animosity against Minato Namikaze, that would have opened up even another can of worms. He had to make sure Konoha wouldn't have to deal with Sasuke, the sole living member of his family, and Itachi before he departed. Itachi could only nod and obey Obito's commands when he said, "You go report directly to Lord Third, I'll go take care of the mess you made." To complete the remaining portions of the massacre mission, they both departed. Obito looks after Sasuke, while Itachi tells Lord Third. In the chamber of the council, within the Hokage Tower, a chamber was occupied by 25 individuals, each of whom represented a distinct area of the village. 12 seats were arranged across from one another, signifying the locations of the Senju, Uchiha, Namikaze, Uzumaki, Aburame, Hyuga, Inuzuka, Nara, Yamanaka, Akamichi, Hitaki, and Sarutobi clans, the principal clans in Konoha. Those 3 seats were left vacant due to the death of Minato Namikaze, the last known heir of the Namikaze clan, the massacre of the Uchiha clan, and the noteworthy absence of Tsunade Senju, the last surviving heir of the Senju clan. The Hokage, Danzo Shimura, Homura Mitokado, Kaharu Utatane, and the 11 members of the civilian council, led by Mebuyuki Haruno, gathered around, along with the other clan heads. 3 days had passed since the killing of the entire Uchiha clan and the assault on Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Ino Yamanaka. Hiruzen was unsure of what to do because he needed everyone's support to govern a functioning town, as one would likely feel in this circumstance. He had to make sure that Konoha was safe for all of its residents while also reducing violence as much as possible. 2 children were hospitalized as a direct result of his carelessness with the issue at hand. One of them required the assistance of the demonic Kyuubi in order to have any hope of surviving. Being the Hokage, Hiruzen was well aware of how unpleasant and occasionally even hellish a Jinchuriki's life might be. But after Yagura Karataki was appointed the 4th Mizukage of Kurigakure, that perception improved. The Jinchuriki would be able to improve their reputation at last. Sadly, things took a sharp turn for the worse when Yagura started the bloodline purge of Kurigakure and drove Kiri into the Blood Mist village. This catastrophe killed any prospect of goodwill that any Jinchuriki would ever have with their birthplace. He had to act quickly to put the ship right. Given that hatred can only be defeated when one learns to let go of one's anger and is prepared to make an effort to comprehend the person one claims to despise, Hiruzen realized there was nothing he could do to halt the animosity toward Naruto. He may, however, start telling the truth to everyone right now. He had been ignoring this fact for a long time because he was afraid Konoha would be attacked. He would be spitting on the graves of his predecessors and successors for permitting such treatment of Naruto if he didn't speak the truth about him. Hiruzen inhaled deeply before going into the room. Danzo, Homura, Kaharu, the civilian council, and the clan chiefs with the exception of the Uchiha, Namikaze, and Senju heads were all present. The civilian council and the clan leaders were at each other's necks over the tiniest of issues, as was customary. Hiruzen screamed, "Everyone, shut the fuck up," and the entire room froze. Good. Now that everyone can hear me and aren't busy trying to have premarital sex with each other, we can start the meeting. Hiruzen laughed. Unaware of the nature of the gathering, everyone turned to look at Hiruzen. But what they were going to hear was going to rock the village's foundation to its core. A civilian council member questioned, "What is it, Lord Third, and why is Fugaku-sama not here?" This is Kodai Shindoki, a businessman who, despite largely ignoring Naruto's existence, is one of the few persons in Konoha who treat him with any kind of non-hatred. When Hiruzen said, "That's what I'm about to get at. Fugaku Uchiha is now dead, along with the rest of the clan aside from Sasuke. They were killed by Itachi Uchiha last night. As of right now, Itachi is a rogue ninja and has been placed within the bingo book." The room erupted in a collective cry of outrage. Mebuki screamed, "What do you mean the Uchiha are dead?" "He means they're 6 feet under, Mebuki. Gone. Not coming back. Maybe if you hadn't filled your brain with hatred for my son, you'd already know what the word dead meant." Kushina made a sarcastic comment. Hiruzen reprimanded Kushina, to which Mebuki could only smile broadly. "Enough, Kushina-san. I know you hold a grudge against Mebuki for lots of things, including trying to attack and kill your son, but you must remember this is a place of inclusion. We are not to try and bash others here just because of personal grudges against them." Kushina mumbled, "Bullshit." Homura said, "I'm sorry, what was that, Uzumaki-san?" in a confrontational tone. Knowing that Kushina would have had little trouble venting her rage, the clan leaders all hung their heads in the hopes that she wouldn't say something that would enrage everyone. However, this time, it didn't happen. No, it was much, much worse this time. "I said bullshit. You claim this to be a place of inclusion, then how about the fact that my son constantly gets treated like he committed fucking war crimes just for the sole reason of him being alive? Why does my family have to live in fear every single day of mobs coming to try and kill us? Why is it that whenever someone even tries to help my son out, that they are the ones who get treated unfairly? What have we done wrong to get everyone to treat us like this? How are we the demon you all so claim us to be?" Kushina was nearly weeping when she said this. It would be extremely exhausting for anyone to live in constant fear for over 3 years, much less a 6-year-old child who, by all accounts, did nothing wrong but happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. With a few exceptions, the main clan leaders believed that Naruto's treatment was immoral on a fundamental level. When Hiruzen heard the screams for assistance, he even hung his head in embarrassment. He should have taken action, but he chose not to. 2 young children were hospitalized and battling for their lives as a result of his decision to do nothing about the issue. If he hadn't turned up and insisted that Naruto be examined, one of them would not have been able to receive hospital care. However, one clan leader interrupted him before he could say anything more. "Because Kushina, your son nearly destroyed the entire village 6 years ago. If it wasn't for that fateful day when the Kyuubi attacked, we wouldn't even care that he exists. Be grateful that people actually give enough of a shit about him to pelt him with rocks and seal his chakra points every damn second." A man with pale eyes replied. "One of the most powerful individuals in Konoha is Hiyashi Hyuga, the leader of the Hyuga clan. Throughout the village, Hiyashi was regarded as a despotic leader who was only concerned with safeguarding the priceless family treasure. He was also notorious for forcing the Hyuga into a dictatorship that had isolated those who were not born into the main family. As a result, Hiyashi was not well liked by his fellows, particularly the other clan leaders, in spite of his well-established influence." Shikaku Nara said, "I would like to ask one question to everyone here. How old is young Naruto? And when is his birthday?" One of the council members raised their voice this time. A screeching member of the civilian council yelled out, "WHO gives a fuck about how old that demon is. He's probably just lying about his age so that we all feel sympathy for him. He should just be put down and jailed for killing Lord Fourth." This only infuriated Kushina and most of the clan heads. Hiruzen made the decision to attempt to refocus the discussion on urgent issues before things get too out of control. Hiruzen said, "All right, let's get back on track. We need to find a new home for Sasuke Uchiha, the remaining survivor of the Uchiha clan." Many council members, particularly those with daughters, seized the chance to elevate themselves by taking in the Uchiha, declaring that they would do so without hesitation. "If Sasuke Uchiha ends up in my care, they will undoubtedly fall in love and that little shit will receive nothing. This is my ideal opportunity to finally steal Sakura away from that devil child. In this manner, no clan will be able to stop the Haruno from ascending to the top once more. In any case, the little brat shouldn't even have affection. This scheme can only succeed if Lord Hokage permits us to lodge Sasuke. Mebuki reflected that although there were numerous advantages for her, the most significant was that she would be able to advance in the community. The same was true for many others, including Hiyashi Hyuga. However, the other members of the Shinobi Council were less in favor of Sasuke going to a civilian household because they were afraid that, in an effort to add the Sharingan to their lineage, they would turn him into a baby machine with their daughters. The first to speak up was Inoichi Yamanaka. If I may, Lord Hokage, I don't think giving Sasuke to anyone would be a wise decision. We know about the Uchiha clan and their tendency to over-rely on their emotions for these kinds of situations, and now think about how a young boy losing his whole family would feel. Especially to his older brother. I propose that Sasuke live by himself until he can make the decisions he needs to, as it would be a way for everyone involved to be safer than they would otherwise. Inoichi began before Danzo interrupted him. Calmly, Danzo said, that would be utter foolishness. Sasuke right now is prime material to be drafted into the route. With my training, not only will Sasuke become a fine shinobi, but he will become someone who Konoha can look up to as the face of the shinobi brand, as well as someone who will put his life on the line for Konoha. I beg of you Hiruzen, please consider drafting Sasuke into the route. He's of prime root material, and he'd make a fine addition to the shinobi forces, as well as someone who would put Konoha ahead of everyone and everything. Danzo went on to say that. Kushina began, if I may speak, Lord Third, I have one request, Datbane. Hiruzen questioned, yes Kushina-san. I know the risks involved with taking Sasuke in, as well as the rewards about him accepting you, but you all are forgetting the most important player in this situation. Sasuke himself. This is a man who just lost everyone he ever loved, everyone he ever had any feelings for whatsoever, and everyone who had ever meant anything to him. Getting him to a point where he would be able to trust again is the most important thing to do with him, and that's why isolating him from everyone else would probably be the worst possible way to treat him. Kushina continued. Kushina's words made perfect sense, and the clan leaders nodded in agreement, slapping themselves in the back for not coming up with this earlier. This provided the civilian council with the opportunity to begin pounding their argument home, shouting loudly why Sasuke should live with them instead of with someone else. Then, using her signature method of silencing, Kushina broke up their chatter. The closest man on the opposite side of the room took a hard, quick punch to the balls. Putting Sasuke with any of you meatheads would probably be an even worse idea. He doesn't need someone to constantly kiss his ass all day in hopes of him one day marrying your daughter so all of you could have precious little Sharingans in your family. What Sasuke needs right now is someone he can trust. Someone he already has a relationship with and who is willing to take care of him. He needs someone to guide him right now, and be a second mother to him. Kushina ended her talk before Danzo began. Danzo asked, where exactly are you going with this Kushina-san? With the hopes of identifying weaknesses in her defense that he could utilize as leverage to get Sasuke added to the route. Sasuke needs someone who he trusts right now, or someone he's comfortable with. I suggest I be the one to take care of Sasuke, not only because I'm the only one whose fucking name he knows, but also because it was Makoto Uchiha's last request. She had asked me prior to her death that if anything were to happen to her, Fugaku, or Itachi, that I be the one to take care of Sasuke. Kushina finished and everyone had a mixed reaction. Although Hiruzen and a few council members supported this reasoning, the vast majority opposed it, believing she was merely attempting to utilize Sasuke for her own purposes. Sasuke would now be an honorary Uzumaki rather than a breeding ground for the council to manwhore out after Hiruzen's decision in favor of Kushina, which was regrettable for the civilian council. But when almost every member of the civilian council did the only thing they could, anyone who believed they would be defeated without a battle would be shown to be more mistaken than ever. They will scream, bitch, and groan loudly. This is preposterous. How can you even think of putting the last of the Uchiha clan in the same conversation with that fucking demon? Exclamation mark. I'm sure that little fucker will corrupt Sasuke-kun and we won't be able to repopulate the Uchiha clan. This is unacceptable and we do not stand by the decision. If you decide to uphold the thought of placing Sasuke-kun with that blonde-haired shit, his slut of a mother, and any other demon spawns they create, we will revolt against this fucking village. The members of the council shrieked. Fortunately for Hiruzen, he had more experience dealing with whiny bitches than anyone else. Working with Danzo just made him more proficient in that area. Shut up. You know, I've had it with you bitch-ass toddlers complaining when shit doesn't go your way. You wanna know why shit doesn't get done in Konoha? Because every single fucking issue we've ever had, it has always been Shinobi versus Civilian Council. Be grateful that you all have a fucking voice right now, because I am this close to taking those privileges away. Not only do you actively encourage the abuse of a fucking 6-year-old child, a child who has done nothing except mind his own business, but you all partake in said abuse too. How you don't feel ashamed of yourselves is completely beyond me. Not only have you broken several Konoha laws, but you have also made Konoha feel like the enemy for many of our citizens. It started with the Uchiha clan themselves, and now it has spread to a child who has held nothing but love for this shitty village. The fact that our predecessors right now aren't looking at all of you in absolute disgust and shame is probably only due to the fact that you guys got lucky as fuck that I tried to balance your wishes along with keeping everyone safe. Well, that ends now. I am now transitioning into being the Hokage of Konoha, not the whipping boy of the Civilian Council out of fear of retaliation. If any of you can give me one good reason as to why I shouldn't just lock your sorry asses up right now, I will give everyone a share of Minato Namikaze's estate. Hiruzen threatened. No one said anything. Most of the civilians were unable to put their emotions into words, and the clan leaders were embarrassed that they had allowed Naruto to be mistreated to the point that he was in this condition. There was only one person at the table who spoke. Hyuga Hiyashi. Well, if you want a reason why you shouldn't lock them up, it's because without them, who will run our businesses and keep Konoha and its civilians happy? You gave them a voice because of the exact reason that you'd be afraid of them revolting. So answer me this, Hiruzen, is the life of a meaningless brat worth a potential revolution in Konoha? I say we just kill Naruto and Sasuke and have the Hyuga reign supreme. That way, we deal with 2 headaches at the same time and nobody will have to consider those 2 wastes of oxygen anymore. Anyone objecting to this decision can also die along with them, as they clearly have no sense of what it takes to make Konoha great again. Hiyashi replied with his trademark smugness. What followed could only be characterized as the council members almost engaging in a full-fledged free-for-all. It was loud enough to be heard in the village next door. Hiruzen needed to make sure that his words would maintain the situation once the fighting ceased and he regained control. Hiruzen screamed, "Everyone enough!" and charged up an earth-style jutsu to complement his big head jutsu. Everyone instantly sat their asses back down upon seeing this, and Hiruzen was left with little choice but to shake his head in dismay at what had just happened. The proposal of killing the last Uchiha and the Namikaze heir, the child Minato and Obito had commanded him to protect, a job he had completely failed to fulfill, has just been put forth by one of Konoha's most esteemed people. He had to make sure the final Uchiha in Konoha didn't end up like that. Kushina-san, do you have any proof of Makoto-san wanting you to take care of Sasuke? Unfortunately, without any proof, I will be forced to send Sasuke to an orphanage. Hiruzen replied. A scroll was extracted from Kushina's pocket. It contained Fugaku and Makoto Uchiha's final will and testament. After looking over the will, Hiruzen chose to read out the sections regarding Sasuke because he couldn't reveal the specifics of the coup without endangering Sasuke's life. Sasuke would grow up the best under Kushina's care, he knew, but he had to make sure it was equitable for all. Unfortunately, one of his council members interrupted him before he could say anything. How are we supposed to know that said document has not been forged by the Kyuubi's bitch in order to gain control of the Sharingan? We have no way of proving this document is legitimate without the 2 people here to confirm it, and they're 6 feet under. Unless you know someone who can do the reanimation jutsu, then Sasuke should be placed under Konoha custody, and we can take much better care of him than the girl who can't even stop her own son from being sent to the hospital, from a fucking branch member of the Hyuga clan nonetheless. Kaharu let out a scream. Making new acquaintances. He had some of the best friends anyone could ask for, and unfortunately for her, they were prepared to risk their lives for him in ways that no one had ever done before. Kaharu put on a front, but Kushina saw right through it. She clearly simply wanted more Sharingan in Konoha and intended to use the CRA against Sasuke if she had the opportunity. However, Ishida Yamanaka cut her off before she could say anything. Ishida said, "Let me handle this, Kushina-san. So let me get this straight. You want to put a 6-year-old child in the custody of Konoha, also known as an orphanage, that will stop at nothing to make him into a baby-making machine. Do you have any form of common decency to understand that shit is just the grossest thing ever? Not only are you denying a child the right to a protective family, but you are also internally suggesting that all the little girls should whore themselves out for Sasuke. Just for the off chance that he isn't completely hung up on revenge to the point where he will stop at nothing and will not be afraid to hurt anyone just to ensure that the person who killed his family ends up nowhere else but 6 feet under. I for one do not wish to see Ino become nothing less than the best person she can be, not some degraded slut whose only purpose is to bend over to the will of the last Uchiha. I can also speak for many of the council members too, as if they had daughters, they would expect nothing less than the best from them. Not turn them into some cheap whore. Ishida spoke, to the ire of many of the civilian council members as well as Homura and Kaharu. Mebuki screamed, Ishida Yamanaka, where the fuck are you going with this? I'm saying that putting Sasuke in the custody of Konoha would be the absolute worst thing you could do for Sasuke. You are denying him the one thing he desires for more than anything, a true family that he can love. I've known Makoto and Kushina for a long time, and I've seen Sasuke interact with Kushina like she's his surrogate aunt. On the flip side, I have no doubt in my mind that if not given to a family and if he is left to the custody of the village, he will leave. Ishida issued a warning. This is utter bullshit. How can you be so sure that Sasuke Uchiha will leave if we leave him under Konoha's watch? He'll have all the freedom to do whatever the fuck he wants, no one is stopping him from getting whatever he wants, and he'll have all the women in the village lined up to be his next mate. What more could he want? Kaharu erroneously said. This time, frustrated with the direction of the conversation, Kushina was the one to speak up. Love, that's what he'd want, and Ishida-san is right, he has no more ties to Konoha, and the only way to ensure he stays is to build more ties. I will be taking Sasuke Uchiha under my care, and if you want to disagree with that, well, let's just say that even though I lost 90% of my chakra sealing the Kyuubi into Naruto, I could still whoop all of your frilly asses combined. Oh, and while we're on the subject of Naruto, if I see any one of you bitch-ass losers lay a single finger on my son once more, Kami-sama himself won't be able to save you. Before anyone could respond, Kushina stood up to go. In addition to reaching Naruto before anyone could touch him, she had to reach Sasuke before anyone else did and explain the situation in detail. Kushina headed for the hospital, running as fast as she could. At the hospital in the interim, just now, Sasuke Uchiha had awoken from his coma. He hoped his brother had not betrayed him in the most worst way possible and that what he had just witnessed was only a nightmare. He was hoping that his family would be there to reassure him that everything would be all right when he opened his eyes. All he could see when he looked around frantically was the desolate wilderness that was his hospital room. The only thing Sasuke could do was cry. Obito entered Sasuke's room where he was suffering his mental breakdown in the hopes of ultimately correcting the situation. He had to take immediate action to prevent Sasuke from fleeing Konoha due to his emotions. Taking hold of Sasuke's shoulder, he carried him into the Kamui dimension. Where am I? Who the fuck are you? Where have you brought me? Where is Itachi? I will kill that little bastard for what he did to the Uchiha clan. Sasuke began to scream. Is he really that serious? As he allowed Sasuke to finish his outburst, Obito pondered. After several minutes, Sasuke eventually relaxed and noticed a man in front of him who was dressed in a Uchiha clan cloak. When he saw this, Sasuke's rage became unbearable, and he unintentionally used his Tsutomu Sharingan. With his back to Sasuke, Obito said, "So you finally decided to stop whining like a little bitch. Good, now I can say what I need to say. Who are you? Why do you have the cloak of Shisui Uchiha on you?" Sasuke grumbled. When Obito finally turned to face Sasuke, he said, "Because it's my cloak. I bought this with my own money, you know, the shit you need to live." Sasuke was enraged because this man claimed the cloak was his rather than Shisui's. At this point, Sasuke was more than simply upset and offended. That cloak is a property of the Uchiha clan. No one outside the clan is allowed to don the Uchiha crest, especially not some lowlife like you. Seeing someone wearing the crest of the family he used to know and love more than anyone else, much alone someone who isn't a Uchiha. Finally introducing himself, Obito said, "Well, then it's a good thing I am a Uchiha. Name's Obito." Sasuke reprimanded Obito, then flashed his Mangekyo at him. "No, not possible. All the Uchiha except for Itachi and I are dead. I saw their bodies with my own fucking eyes. Itachi killed them all. You being a Uchiha has to be the biggest piece of bullshit I've ever heard." As he imprisoned Sasuke in a genjutsu, Obito said, Listen here you little shit, I came here to clear up the truth about the Uchiha massacre because Itachi lied to you. What the fuck do you mean? I saw the massacre with my own eyes. Itachi told me he only killed the clan to test out his fucking abilities. What do you mean he lied about this? Sasuke was taken aback. He had wished fervently that Itachi was not the monster he presented himself as, but he simply could not accept that he was a truly decent guy. Not after seeing his parents' bodies at his feet, Itachi standing taller than them, wearing an Anbu costume, and his blood-stained sword. Sasuke was stopped in his tracks as Obito remarked, he lied about the reason he committed the massacre. He didn't do it to test his abilities, rather he did it to stop a potential revolution in Konoha. Sasuke made an unsuccessful attempt to reason with Obito, saying, revolution. What do you mean revolution? The Uchiha loved Konoha more than anyone. We wouldn't revolt against the village. Their love for Konoha was nothing but a mirage, Sasuke. Especially under your father's rule. We reverted back to the ways of Madara Uchiha, only acting in the clan's best interests, and nothing more. Obito replied sternly. Sasuke shuddered when he heard Madara's name. When he was getting ready to start the academy, he had read about Madara. Sasuke discovered that Madara was the greatest traitor in Konoha history in addition to being the most strong Uchiha of all time. From an idealistic youngster who aspired to stop the violence between the Uchiha and the Senju to the man who would later gain international recognition for his visual skills and total command of the Sharingan, Sasuke had always been captivated by Madara's life as he grew up. But when Madara fled Konoha after being betrayed by the Uchiha themselves, things took a turn for the worst. When Sasuke was younger, he was very interested in reading about Madara's death in the final valley versus Hashirama. For him, Itachi embodied the ideals of both Madara and Hashirama, going above and beyond to make sure that those closest to them had the finest possible life. Until he witnessed Itachi murder their parents, nonetheless. Sasuke questioned, how does that explain why Itachi killed the clan? While your father was the leader of the coup, Itachi was the one that was against it the most. Itachi was born during the Third Great War, and he had seen a lot of bloodshed through his time. Growing up in those conditions led Itachi to desire peace more than anything else, and he was willing to sacrifice what was needed to ensure that Konoha and the world would remain out of war. After hearing about his father's plans, Itachi felt that the thought process behind the coup was flawed in the sense that it would only lead to complete and total annihilation of Konoha, one way or another. He constantly fed information to Lord Third about the plans of the coup, keeping an eye on everything your father did. He wasn't alone in that regard as his best friend, Shisui Uchiha was there with him. The original plan was to use Shisui's Mangekyo ability, the Koto Amatsukami, to try and convince Fugaku to stop the coup. Unfortunately, after Shisui committed suicide, Itachi had no other choice but to do what was necessary. Eliminate the leaders of the clan, and those who plotted the coup. That was his mission given to him by Konoha. All that could have been prevented if your family would stop being power-hungry dumbasses for once in their lives. Obito explained. Sasuke was stunned as he stood there. He had been informed by this weird man, for starters, that Itachi killed his family only to maintain peace and safety in Konoha. But there was one thing that bothered him. How could this man have known every detail? And why was this Uchiha unknown to him? You claim to be a Uchiha, yet I've never heard of you before. I know every single Uchiha, past and present. I've never seen your face in any of the Uchiha archives nor records. You're like a ghost, Sasuke replied. Well, that's not surprising, considering I was ousted from the Uchiha clan for being too Uchiha. I keep the last name as a reminder for the people who look down on me, in my quest to become the first ever Uchiha to take the title of Hokage. Obito said, but enough of my life story, I have time for one more question before I have to go, so choose wisely. Why did Itachi kill everyone but me? Why am I the only one? If the only reason he killed the clan was to stop a potential civil war, then why did he kill the women and children who knew nothing of the revolution? Sasuke inquired. That's the exact reason. They didn't know about the coup. If Itachi left them alive, knowing the trend of the Uchiha acting solely based on emotion rather than rationality, we would have had another coup on our hands in no time. And that time, we wouldn't have Itachi or me to stop the coup. Or potentially even worse, if word of the planned coup got out, their lives would be worse than hell. Itachi did them a favor by killing them all, so they wouldn't have to suffer through either the scrutiny of being associated with the clan that tried to revolt against Konoha, or from the loss of their family members. As for why he didn't kill you, well, He wouldn't be able to live with himself if he did. He loved you more than anyone, Sasuke, even more than his girlfriend and parents. He wants you to grow up and restore the Uchiha name, restore the clan, and restore the honor it once brought to Konoha. That's his mission for you, Sasuke. His final mission, Obito explained, which only brought tears to Sasuke's eyes. After that, Obito brought both Sasuke and himself back to reality, this time on the hospital bed where Sasuke was lying. Listen, Sasuke, you cannot tell what I told you to Anyone. Obito issued a warning. Why not? Why should Itachi bear the hatred of Konoha when it was my parents who were in the wrong? Sasuke inquired. Because his exile from Konoha is just a cover. Itachi and I are going on a mission that nobody outside of Lord Third knows about. This mission is vital for the safety of Konoha as well as the lives of everyone involved, you included, so it's imperative that you keep this mission a secret. Don't let anyone know of my existence either. Aside from your new family and Lord Third, everyone thinks I'm dead. I will not field any questions because I have to leave now, warned Obito. Sasuke questioned, wait, you said I'll be getting a new family. If everything goes right, you should be getting adopted by Kushina-san any minute now. She's trying to convince Lord Third to let her adopt you. If she can do that, your life will be as good as it can get under these circumstances. Now I have to leave, or else my absence will be suspected from the group I'm infiltrating. But I will come to check on you every once in a while, and give updates on Itachi's conditions. Sasuke was reassured by Obito. Kushina-san will adopt me, which I would prefer to having to put up with these obnoxious peasants who want to kiss my ass every single second of my life. Lost in his own thoughts, Sasuke pondered before turning back to face the window. He was met with fury instead of sadness, resentment toward himself for being unaware of their father's schemes. Rage at the Uchiha clan as a whole for putting Itachi in these predicaments. Anger towards Konoha for keeping the Uchiha apart. Above all, though, he was upset with his father. The person who led the coup and was prepared to murder everyone in order to achieve his goals. Furthermore, he was aware of Obito's exile from the Uchiha clan. The most important thing in Sasuke's universe is his family, and his father taught him to treat each and every one of them with the highest respect. He recently learned, however, that his father was prepared to sacrifice his family in order to uphold the Uchiha name. Sasuke was very enraged by that. He could put up with his father's persistent pestering or his covert preference for Itachi, but this was too much. Sasuke has had enough of the Uchiha moniker. He desired to leave. The clan that sought to murder everyone for its own glory would no longer be connected to him. Shisui and now Obito, as well as Itachi, did not stand for that. I shall not emulate my father or go down the same path as Madara Uchiha. My loyalty will be to Konoha first, followed by Uchiha. I will be the one to ensure that my house never suffers the destiny it nearly did from now on. By assuming the hate directed at Konoha, I shall be the one to lift it out of the shadows. I will be furious with anyone who tries to disrespect my house. Sasuke swore. His Sharingan was ignited as he gazed up with a furious determination in his eyes. He was no longer Fugaku's son, Sasuke Uchiha. He was the protector, Sasuke Uchiha. Kushina ascended to Sasuke's chamber. How the youngster must have been feeling was beyond her comprehension. She needed to see Sasuke before anything awful happened because she knew what it was like to lose her family at a young age. Not to mention that she had to make sure Naruto was safe and out of trouble back home. Apparently panting, Kushina walked into the hospital and up to Sasuke's room. However, she was shocked to see Sasuke moving around and performing push-ups when she arrived. To gain his attention, she knocked on the door. Kushina used a maternal tone when she stated, "Sasuke-kun, I'm here to pick you up." He needed a mother figure to help him cope with the loss of his family. She could only hope they would be accepted as Sasuke's new family. She always had the impression that Sasuke would only accept people who had earned his respect, even though she had known him his entire life. Even Sasuke remained silent, trying to get stronger every day. He was too preoccupied with his push-ups to hear Kushina calling. Instead of wasting time playing about, he needed to take over as Konoha's defender as quickly as possible. The final devoted Uchiha did not have a time to relax. To a certain extent, Kushina was annoyed that Sasuke was not paying attention. She approached him and pressed her lips to his ear. When Kushina shouted in Sasuke's ear, "Sasuke Uchiha, time to go," Sasuke staggered to the ground and struck his head. Sasuke moaned, "What the fuck was that?" Then he turned to see Kushina standing up with her hair. For some reason, Sasuke was more disturbed by this incident than he was by witnessing his entire clan being rounded up by his older brother for the 500,000th time. Kushina screamed, "I told you it's time to leave. What do you not understand about the words time to leave?" Sasuke nearly crapped his pants from the wailing. Knowing immediately what that meant, he gathered his things and headed to meet Kushina. In order to avoid upsetting his adoptive mother further, Sasuke said, "Sorry Kushina-san, I didn't hear you. I was busy working out." Sasuke had heard tales from his mother about Kushina's legendary, angry mode, the period that inspired many of Konoha's senior brass to refer to her as the red-hot habanero, even though he had not personally experienced it. When he learned that his mother was attempting to adopt him into her family, he had the opportunity to witness directly that she was one of the sweetest and kindest individuals, despite her well-documented rage. If she could be the mother he hoped she would be, he thought she would be someone he could utilize in the future. Sasuke and Kushina hastily stuff up and depart. He left the hospital after checking out and walked outside, observing the looks he and Kushina received from the villagers. Since he was no longer blind, Sasuke could see that Kushina was disliked by the people of Konoha. They detested Kushina, so forget about that. He was well aware of the harsh treatment she and Naruto received in the village because of an uncontrollable circumstance. He came to the conclusion that it was a marvel that they didn't have the heart to fight back and make things worse after hearing his mother's stories about how poorly they were treated. But he still had one thing on his mind. One question, which he was unable to answer despite his best efforts to reason with himself. Sasuke said, "Kushina-san, I just have one question." Kushina said, "What is it, Sasuke-kun?" Feeling bad about putting his own burdens on Kushina and Naruto, Sasuke asked, "Why did you decide to take me in? I mean, I know you're not well liked by the villagers for your past as well as who you are, and I'd probably just be a burden to you, especially because of how the Uchiha have been viewed throughout time. I'm not blind, Kushina-san, I've seen how the people treat you like they want you to just kill yourself, so why go through all the trouble for a lost cause like me?" Sasuke felt bad about putting Kushina and Naruto under such a burden, especially given how they have been treated throughout the village. Additionally, he believed that Kushina had just set a target on her back for everyone to see by bringing him in. "I was lucky to have Tsunade-sama take me in, and I would have wanted your family to adopt Naruto if something had happened to me. Because I know exactly what it feels like to lose my family, Sasuke, and the people I have come to know and love all came from similar backgrounds. My husband lost his family when he was young, my sensei's brother died as a genin and her boyfriend was killed in war, and I myself lost my entire clan to the Third Great War. Why should I not do the same for my best friend?" Kushina began to well up, tears in her eyes as she recalled the atrocities that her beloved had to endure during the massacre of Uzushiogakure, the home of the Uzumaki clan. Obito almost died and saw his best friend die, Kakashi saw his father commit suicide, Minato's parents perished while on a mission, and Minato himself died the day Naruto was born. With a fresh regard for Kushina, Sasuke turned to face her. She endured almost the same suffering that he did, but this time it was due to circumstances that were entirely beyond her control. She was prepared to adopt him like if he were her own, despite the fact that almost everyone she knew had experienced the same suffering. As the two traveled to the Uzumaki compound, Sasuke grinned to himself. When they arrived to the facility, Kushina used the blood seal to gain entry. There was a modest training facility inside, as well as a lovely location surrounded by verdant fields. Sasuke could only watch in wonder at what he had just seen. Compared to what he seen at the Uchiha estate, this was insignificant. This house seemed more open and inviting, allowing people to experience the Uzumaki family's affection. The peasants would be able to experience something spectacular once in their lives if they could just get their heads out of their asses for a change from their miserable existence. Sasuke remarked, "You have a nice place here, Kushina-san." "Ah, thank you Sasuke-kun, I'm glad you like it. Now go, make yourself at home. You will be sharing a room with Naruto, and I'm sure he won't mind datbane." Kushina grinned as she escorted Sasuke inside the house. "Speaking of, I need to go pick Naruto up from the hospital, he is being discharged today. Head inside and make yourself at home, I'll be back in 10 minutes. Sasuke then entered the residence while Kushina went for the hospital. He ascended to Naruto's room and began arranging his belongings. The young Uchiha started looking about the house when he had done unpacking. "Wow, what a great location. I wonder how they managed to get it. Given that Kushina-san seems to irritate the locals, Kushina-san's spouse must be extremely wealthy or he most likely had his dick sucked by them. In any case, they appear to be doing well for themselves. As he walked to the backyard and surveyed every inch of his new home, Sasuke pondered. With Sakura, Ino, and Naruto. Sakura and Ino continued to tell Naruto all of their wild tales while he was still in the hospital. For what felt like hours, they discussed their lives, interests, and dislikes, and Naruto actually appeared to be enjoying himself for the first time in around 3 years. No grown-ups to gaze at him like he was a murderer, no parents to attempt to impose their will on their kids, and most importantly, 2 people who actually seemed to like him for who he was, without any concern for the monster that lived inside of him. Nothing seemed to be able to split Naruto's happiness right now, and he could not be happier. Sakura, on the other hand, was nearly enthralled by Naruto's ability to smile and laugh in spite of everything that had happened to him. Holy shit, I probably would have left this shabby village long ago if I had been in his shoes. After everything he's been through, it's amazing that he can still smile, and my goodness, isn't that the sexiest thing I've ever seen? I promise you, Naruto, that no one will ever approach you again, even if it means fucking killing them. If I can avoid it, you will never find yourself in this bed. I'll be at your side, holding your hand while you accomplish your goals, and you'll realize your dream. Sakura then started having dreams of her and Naruto getting married, with Kushina officiating and the whole village groveling before Naruto to pardon him. The idea of marrying her attractive angelic savior makes her inner self ecstatic. The idea of Naruto and Sakura hooking up made inner Sakura salivate. Come on Sakura, just jump his bones already. We both know you're hungry for that Uzumaki dick, she exclaimed. Really inner, right now. First off, we're 6 years old, I don't know how you have this thought inside of you, and if I'm going to develop a relationship with Naruto-kun, I will do it right. Not the way you propose, which frankly, only a whore would consider doing. Sakura shot back. It didn't really upset her that she always knew she was a pervert, but this time it seemed different. It just felt wrong this time. Before her perverted side emerged and she immediately jumped her savior, Sakura needed to take charge of the situation. So Naruto-kun, I just want to know, why do you put up with the beatings and hits the civilians give you? If it was anyone else, they would have either left Konoha or tried to hurt the others back. Sakura said. Honestly, I don't know, I just assumed that if I stayed myself and was nice to others, that they'd eventually stop hating me for something which frankly, I didn't even know about. Now though, the nice guy act is done. I'll be nice to the people I like and who deserve it, but people better not expect any sympathy from me, and if they attack now, I'm fighting back for sure. The look on Naruto's face got darker. Not only are they beating a defenseless child for no reason, but they're actively spitting on the grave of their greatest heroes. They deserve no sympathy from me, and they won't be getting any either. Now, I'm only staying because it's my father's home, my mother's home, and your home. I couldn't leave any of you behind. Ino jumped on Naruto and gave him the greatest bear hug imaginable, almost crushing the poor kid's windpipe, after saying, "Aw, that's so sweet Naruto-kun. I'm glad you like us enough to not abandon us here." When Sakura noticed Naruto having trouble moving, she pulled Ino away, causing Ino to start screaming crocodile tears. Ino sulked. Come on Sakura, I was just playing around. Sakura shot back, you were hurting him Ino pig, be careful with him. And they both started shouting at each other incoherently. All Naruto could do was chuckle at his new buddy's antics. He could sense that Sakura and Ino would both have a significant impact on his life, providing him with joy amidst the anxiety that accompanied being the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki and the duty of being the 4th Hokage's son. He used to want people to accept him and stop treating him like a jerk, but now he had a different objective, a mission that started with safeguarding everyone he cared about. The aim is to become the Hokage. The girls eventually calmed down, mostly due to their weariness from the catfight. After grabbing Naruto's arm and pulling it tightly, they both dozed off on his hospital bed. They both look so adorable in this pose. They will undoubtedly be very helpful to me in the future, but for now, I must be of service to them. I'll make sure they don't suffer because of who I am. They deserve to be trained to become as strong as possible, therefore I won't be chilly toward them. Naruto pondered as he started to drift off to sleep. Before he could, Kushina entered the room, almost giggling as she saw 2 girls draped over her son as if he were a deity. It brought back memories of her early years spent with Minato, particularly the attractive young man he was. Since Minato was the one he ultimately chose and she knew he wouldn't exchange her for anyone, Kushina felt proud to see all those girls swooning over her. When Kushina saw a young Minato in Naruto, she was ecstatic about the man he was growing into. If you're paying attention, Minato-kun, our son is developing into a gentleman and a lady killer. Kushina pondered for a moment before her kid brought her back to the present. Naruto said, "Mom, what are you doing here?" "Well son, it's time to go home. You can now come home with me, but the doctors did ask me to keep an eye on your chakra levels and see if there is any damage done to the chakra points. Overall though, I think you should be fine, especially with Kurama helping you heal," remarked Kushina. "Alright, just let me get these two off my arms and I'll be ready," Naruto replied. He tried to wake them awake by tapping each of their heads. The first to react was Ino, who at first clung to Naruto until waking up on the third try. Sakura was a little more difficult to deal with, though, as she continued to cling on with even more intensity no matter how many times Naruto attempted to push her away. This girl's iron grasp would not let go, and Naruto felt that his arm ought to be amputated. This time, however, he attempted something new. The pinkett moved slightly and eventually woke up as Naruto said, "Sakura-chan, wake up," into her ear. Sakura blushed heavily from shame and a tinge of love as she released Naruto's arm after realizing that her entire body was holding on to it like a stuffed animal. Sakura stumbled, I'm sorry Naruto-kun, please don't laugh at me." Naruto gestured for Sakura to approach and kissed her forehead, saying, "Why would I laugh at you Sakura-chan? I thought it was cute. Thank you for being by my side the whole way." Then Sakura literally turned into a tomato, turning redder than Kushina's hair in an instant. She had endured frequent criticism from her mother for not being the beauty she wanted, and she had been made fun of and laughed at for the size of her forehead all of her childhood. It was a dream come true for Sakura that the man she liked thought her forehead was cute enough to kiss it. Now, she was certain that she adored Naruto. Because of his character, his tenacity, and his concern for whomever he thought deserving, she loved him more than anyone else. He was her new home, therefore she didn't even mind that he had a demon fox inside of him. He understood what it was like to be crap on by someone over whom she had no control, and she felt at last at ease. To be scrutinized and denigrated for something that could have happened to anybody. Flashback without jutsu, 3 days prior to Naruto's attack. Sakura had heard arguments in the living room when she woke up from a restless night. To find out what was happening, she went downstairs. Her parents were seated in the living room, deep in discussion about Sakura. She tried to listen in on their conversation by hiding behind the cabinet. Mebuki informed Sakura's father, Kazashi Haruno, that, "We're marrying her off to the Uchiha and that's final." "Are you fucking serious right now Mebuki? You plan to whore your only daughter out just so you can gain some increased power within Konoha? What about what Sakura thinks? Didn't you ever think of that before suddenly agreeing to Fugaku's request? And what about his plan to overthrow the fucking Hokage? Did you ever think of what would happen if his plan went south?" Kazashi responded. Mebuki appeared to be more concerned with accumulating wealth and power than Kazashi, who was the more sensible and affectionate of the two parents. Mebuki gave Kazashi a forceful slap. A harsh slap that almost brought a young Sakura to tears. The last straw, however, was what followed. "You think I care about what that little shit thinks? You know the only reason I agreed to keep that fucking turd was because of the chance that she would marry Sasuke or Itachi. I couldn't give a fuck if she became a whore for them, whose only purpose was to be their slut and baby maker. Fucking hell, she's so ugly that this is the only way someone will actually agree to marry her, so be happy that we're finding someone to get this little piece of shit out of our lives forever. The only noteworthy thing about her is the fact that she has a giant forehead, something which I'm sure people would love if they were into freaks with no talent and no beauty." Mebuki grumbled, slapping Kazashi after the man was almost bleeding out with each smack, which was harder than the last. "Also, this is all your fault. If you had let me continue the abortion process, this shit wouldn't have had to happen, and over 60% of our money wouldn't be tied up in taking care of that brat anyways. Fuck, if mom and dad didn't die in the Kyuubi attack, I would have just pawned her off on them and spent the money on things I actually like." Mebuki went on. When Sakura realized how little her mother truly loved her, she couldn't stop crying in agony. Now that the veil had finally fallen, she could see her mother's true nature. More painful than any remark about her forehead or any time her parents smacked and spanked her for making a mistake was this. Where wounds could not be healed, this hurt. The person she most admired, her own mother, thought she was just a pawn. Not much more than a sacrifice in her relentless pursuit of dominance in Konoha. Sakura was sadly not the only victim of mental assault. You know what? Do whatever you want, because as soon as that little shit turns 18, if she isn't married to a Uchiha or isn't one of their little fucktoys, I will be selling her off to the highest bidder. I don't care if they're a criminal, a wanted fugitive, or a fucking bum. As long as they have money, they can have Sakutrash. And once she is legally able to support herself, she better not expect any charity from me, because there is no way I'm letting an ungrateful little brat such as her touch even a bit of my money. And if I find out that you're secretly helping her with any of her shit, oh, you best have the greatest lawyers in the 5 great nations by your side, because I'll be having you arrested for stealing. Threatened. And if you dare talk back to me, you won't live to see me fucking your tiny limp dick anymore. Oh, and by the way, you mean less to me than Sakura does, and that's why I've been fucking Fugaku on the side as well. The fact that neither you nor Makoto noticed just goes to show how pathetic both of you are, especially you, Kazashi. And you know what happens if you file for divorce, or did you forget the agreement you signed with my father the day you asked me to marry you? Mebuki said. Sakura was broken by hearing this in a way she had never experienced before. She knew she had to leave the house immediately. She ran out the front door and headed to the park, where she sat on the bench with her hands in her face and relaxed. In the meantime, Sakura was sitting by herself when Ino noticed her playing with 2 other boys. She went up and introduced herself, feeling sad for the little child. For the young pinkette, Ino said, "Hi, are you okay?" Sakura, trying to control her tears and act like a grown girl for once, continued to sniffle as she gazed up at Ino. She was holding up an invisible wall, but Ino, who could see through it, grabbed her arm right away and dragged her away. Sakura exclaimed, "Ouch, that hurts," you know, when she and Ino eventually came to attention. Ino could see right away what was wrong with the pinkette by looking into her eyes. As a Yamanaka, Ino was an expert in the functioning of the human mind. Ino began taking classes early on and was already very good at reading faces for any indication of emotion. Her father found this ability to be incredibly helpful in combat, particularly when it came to questioning. It was Ino's turn to use some of those tactics on Sakura this time in an attempt to get her to explain the situation to him. Let's begin with a little introduction. Second, begin to make her feel more comfortable so that she would be less defensive. Thirdly, make the kill. Hi, my name is Ino Yamanaka, heiress of the Yamanaka clan. What's your name? Questioned Ino. Sakura cried as she said, "S. Sakura H. Haruno." With a radiant smile, Ino replied, "Nice to meet you, Sakura." She looked directly into Sakura's emerald eyes, which slightly alarmed Sakura. She responded by trying to hide as much as she could, but Ino had gleaned all the information she required from that one look. Step 2 of the Yamanaka questioning techniques is now available. To encourage her new friend to finally open up to her, Ino inquired in the kindest of tones, "So Sakura, why are you crying? A pretty girl like you should be happy, smiling, and jumping around. What's made my little cherry blossom so sad?" In an attempt to provide as little information as possible, Sakura stated, "My mommy said some really mean things about me, and she hurt daddy a lot. I needed to go to my happy place." She was careful to give Ino the information she needed without going into great detail about what her mother had said to her father because she knew from her name that she would probably be adept at mind tricks to try and achieve what she wanted. Unfortunately for Sakura, those 2 statements were all that Ino needed. Since nothing else would explain why Sakura was crying so intensely, I assume that her mother is attempting to disband the family by telling her that she didn't want her to be born or something. After giving it some thought, Ino knew exactly what she was going to do. Ask Sakura and her pals to get together. Ino gestured for Sakura to join them in their game, saying, "Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Sakura-chan. If you want, me and my friends are playing a game. Do you want to join us?" Sakura initially appeared a little hesitant. She didn't particularly enjoy meeting new people because they would mock her for having a big forehead or not being as conventionally attractive as other women. This usually caused her to withdraw from social interactions, which made it particularly hard for her to make friends. But she could sense that Ino was unique. Her cheerful enthusiasm and willingness to involve everyone in her activities drew Sakura in. She therefore thought she had made her first buddy who would actually stay with her. Compared to the mental torture she was accustomed to receiving, mostly from her parents, it was a pleasant diversion. Her father did not speak out about his mistreatment of her, but he also did nothing to stop her mother from emotionally abusing her whenever she had the opportunity. She had been told throughout her life that no boy would ever like her until she made significant changes to her appearance. It made no difference how much she achieved or what kind of person she became. The fact that Sakura was attractive enough for a wealthy man to come and take her away was all that mattered to Mebuki and Kazashi. But with Ino, She felt as like she could finally be herself for the first time in a long time without anyone criticizing her appearance and more so for who she was. The brief flashback has ended. Sakura grinned to herself. Those were the most amazing days of her life, even though it had only been a few days since she had at last discovered something to be joyful about. She and Ino soon became closest friends and spent almost every moment of the day together. She recently found the person she believed was meant to be with her forever. She didn't see someone in need of assistance or a man who had been broken by the system when she looked at Naruto. She witnessed a man who would do whatever it took to get what he wanted, who prioritizes the safety of others over his own, and most importantly, who had enough love to share with everyone despite having a childhood that at best would have led most people to commit suicide. Even though she had considered it before, she just knew now how much she would sacrifice to ensure Naruto's happiness. For him, she was prepared to kill. Now, Naruto-kun would be furious with anyone who dared to harm her. She needed to gain strength to accomplish that. Much more powerful. Sakura had always wished to defend the hamlet that she held in such high regard. One of Sakura's favorite things in her life was growing up in Konoha, in spite of its shortcomings. Every time she left the house, she could always rely on the stunning surroundings, the friendly mood, well, not so friendly now, and the sincere joy of the locals to greet her. She had always heard tales of some of the most well-known heroes of Konoha, like as Minato Namikaze himself, the legendary Sannin, and Hashirama Senju. She was now even more motivated to attempt to keep her house safe. To make sure that no one ever lived like Naruto again, she had to do this action. She had to master the art of ninja. Joining the ninja academy is the first step. Sakura turned to face Kushina, listening to tales of her victories as the red-hot habanero and her near-death experience at the hands of the Kyuubi. She was so preoccupied with Naruto's condition for a long time that she forgot her goddamn hero was 2 feet in front of her. She could not have been happier than she was right now. Sakura was aware that in order to protect Naruto to the extent that she did, she needed to ask Kushina for advice during her training. Ino, meantime, was lost in her own imagination. Unaware that her best friend was also having fantasies about the same man, she was dreaming about her and Naruto's future marriage. In her fantasy, she and Naruto would eventually move in together, get married, and have children, something Ino had always hoped for. Despite the Ino-Shikacho trio's long-standing history, she secretly hoped that Naruto would someday enroll in the ninja academy with her and that they would wind up on the same team. Since they were both colleagues of Makoto Uchiha, her mother already had a close friendship with Kushina and believed she could have an advantage over anyone else vying for Naruto's attention. But she certainly was unaware of how far behind Sakura she truly was in Naruto's affections. When Kushina and Naruto both shouted their goodbyes, Sakura and Ino were startled out of their reveries. Sakura sought to revive her mother from her unconscious state while internally lamenting the life she had to lead, while Ino went off to find her mother. She had to leave quickly, but she was at a loss as to how. Returning home with Kushina and Naruto and Kushina returned to their modest home. When Naruto returned to his room, he discovered that the Uchiha crest was plastered all over the wall and that the room had been painted entirely black. Okay, so either mom adopted a lonely Uchiha or some emo child chose to move in with us out of the blue. What might it be, I wonder? As he walked to the bed and began painting his room orange again, Naruto pondered. Sasuke, meantime, left the restroom and returned to their room. Sasuke said, what are you doing in my room? When Naruto looked around, he saw Sasuke standing on the carpet in his towel. I see now that it's both. Your room? This is my room. Why the hell did you paint it black of all colors? Do you want to be seen as that one kid who's always depressed no matter what the situation is? Replied Naruto. As he returned to his bed, Sasuke thought, well, it's better than having your entire room seem so desperate for attention that would turn literally every single girl away the moment she steps foot in it. Also get the hell out, I gotta change. Sasuke is left to change in his room as Naruto exits the room and descends. Naruto walked over to Kushina and sat down on the table, wondering what had transpired while he was away. Naruto said, hey mom, why is Makoto-san's son living with us? What happened to his family? Shouldn't he be staying with them? Given that he knew nothing about the Uchiha being exterminated, Naruto's question wasn't out of the question, but for some reason, Kushina found it rather annoying. Given that her son had recently returned from the hospital, she didn't want to lash out at him at this time, but Kushina didn't like that he didn't seem to want to welcome Sasuke. She had always known her son to be a man who didn't hesitate to let people in, no matter what. However, this approach had only led to hurt feelings from those he attempted to trust. As a result, Even though she didn't enjoy that her kid was growing more heartless, she could totally understand why and couldn't be angry about it. She had to provide Naruto with something, though, to quell his interest in the subject. She knew it wasn't her story to tell, yet she couldn't keep quiet about it. You should ask Sasuke yourself, hun, but be careful. Don't just go in there and ask, it has to come up in conversation. Kushina cautioned Naruto. And before you ask why, I'm not going to answer because it's a really sensitive subject to talk about, and I don't think Sasuke-kun would appreciate me telling the biggest secret of his life. Naruto gave a sympathetic nod. Even if he occasionally lacked knowledge, he was able to discern when it was appropriate to ask a question and when it was more sensible to ignore it. He left Kushina to prepare dinner and headed back out to the field to start practicing his new dojutsu. Sasuke, meanwhile, had just finished changing and headed downstairs. When he looked out, he saw Naruto channeling the air around him, almost forming a vacuum, in a sort of meditative pose. It was a moment of complete tranquility for Naruto. It just seemed strange to Sasuke. He moved to his area of the training field and began practicing his shuriken and kunai throws, creating so much noise that it distracted Naruto. Naruto yelled at Sasuke, "I bastard, can you keep it down? I'm trying to train here if you can't see." Before returning to throwing sharps at fictitious dartboards, Sasuke shot back, "Looks more like you were sleeping in some weird ass position, not training. If that's your idea of training, you're an even bigger loser than I thought you would be." The sounds Sasuke was making just made Naruto more furious, as it kept interrupting his meditation. He approached and used his own kunai to hack down his improvised targets. Sasuke approached Naruto and got all up in his face, saying, "What the hell, loser? What's your problem? Couldn't you see that I was trying to train here?" They were so close to one another that anybody within 5 miles could see the intense sparks shooting between them. This was where the worst was going to happen. Near Naruto, a large, muscular man riding a toad happened to call out. As a result of the summoning shock, Naruto staggered forward and gave Sasuke what could only be described as the most forceful kiss ever. As soon as possible, Naruto pulled away from Sasuke and hurried to the bathroom to wash his mouth, while Sasuke followed suit. What had just transpired could only leave the man on the toad perplexed. Determining that child-on-child kissing was against his code as a established writer, he walked to the front door after pondering for 5 seconds whether or not to include the scenario in his future book. Kushina came down and opened the door when the man knocked. The man shouted, "Hey Kushina," and then he did his signature dance on top of the toad. Kushina, who was fed up with the pervert's behavior in almost every aspect of the imagination, deadpanned, "Seriously, Jiraiya-sensei? Why the fuck did you have to enter like that?" But because of their past contacts and the fact that he was Minato's sensei, she always had a soft spot for him, regardless of how much his perverse ways annoyed her. "Anyways, come on in, I'm just making some dinner. Would you like some?" With a solemn expression on his face, Jiraiya gestured for Kushina to go outside so the children wouldn't hear him say, "Actually Kushina, I came to talk to you about something important. Something that could threaten Naruto's life as we know it." Kushina did not want to hear the news regarding her son's possible hazards, so she followed Jiraiya outside. "So what is it, Jiraiya-sensei? What's the threat Naruto could be facing in the future?" Kushina responded. "I just got word from one of my spies that Orochimaru has just been kicked out of the Akatsuki. Now normally, this wouldn't be too much of an issue, but we all know what Orochimaru is capable of if he isn't checked by anyone. He will stop at nothing to ensure that he has what he wants, and unfortunately, he has set his sights on Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto. Now I don't know exactly how he plans on taking them, but knowing my former teammate, it seems like this is something that we just can't ignore. Something that will force us to be more prepared for his next move than we already are." Jiraiya clarified. "Naruto needs to join the academy now. I don't know how long it will take for Orochimaru to get ready, but if he's ready and we aren't, we'll be even more fucked than we already are." Even though Kushina grasped Jiraiya's point, she was still hesitant to send Naruto to the academy for fear that he would once more face discrimination. She could sense the intense hatred that was aimed at Lord Third, particularly now that he was starting to crack down on those who were attempting to beat him. She was still worried that Naruto would feel uncomfortable at the academy and return home upset that someone had attempted to defraud him. Until she was certain he would be safe there, that is. "I know it's for his own good, but I just don't think he's ready yet. He just got out of the hospital with severe injuries from the goddamn Hyuga clan taijutsu technique. How am I supposed to know he won't get fucking killed there?" Kushina was frantic. All Jiraiya could do was nod and comprehend Kushina's meaning. Despite his lack of involvement in Naruto's life, he was aware that most of Konoha viewed him as complete trash. He was aware, though, that the time for wailing was over. In one way or another, Naruto's life would be in jeopardy, and the only way he could prepare for the threats was to begin his training. He couldn't possibly put it off any longer. Naruto wasn't going to let this go to waste because he was old enough to enroll in the academy. The time for crying is done, Kushina. I've already talked to Sensei about submitting Naruto's application for the academy. He said it was already done. Jiraiya clarified. Naruto is set to join the academy starting tomorrow, the first day of the new year. Kushina realized there was no use in delaying it any longer. She acknowledged the dreadful reality that had been presented and gently bowed her head in acquiescence. She walked upstairs to inform Naruto of the news and the specifics of how things will operate going forward. Kushina ignored the pictures of Minato holding her belly while she was expecting Naruto as she headed upstairs. She started crying when she thought about her late husband, who would have provided everything for her and Naruto. She was fortunate enough to know the name of the man, let alone fall in love with and marry him. Before Jiraiya approached and put his hand on her shoulder, she was on the verge of passing out on the stairs. In his calming voice, Jiraiya murmured, "Shush, it's okay Kushina. Let it out." As it was every time she thought of Minato, Kushina was almost brought to tears by this. This is something I thought Minato-kun and I would do together, yet this is another thing that he won't be here for. I just wish I could go back to that day, you know. Just push him out of the way or something before Kurama's nail had a chance to get to him. Maybe then Naruto would grow up knowing just how wonderful his father truly is. Fortunately for her, Jiraiya was around to ensure that she wasn't the only one. I know. I miss him too, he was the closest thing I had to a son. But the past is the past, and we can't change that. The only thing we can do is make sure Naruto is nurtured into the type of man worthy of carrying Minato's name one day. From what I know of him, his goal is to become the Hokage, right? Well, so long as he doesn't veer from his path without good reason, then I see no problems with him becoming exactly what Minato had hoped for. Now all that's left to do is ensure that he gets there. Which is where I will come in. Jiraiya clarified. Kushina questioned, "What do you mean, Jiraiya-sensei?" "Well, with your injuries, you won't be able to teach him much jutsu that is anything more than the standard 3 jutsus at the academy, considering they don't require much chakra manipulation to do. But when he gets more powerful, that's where I will come in to help teach him. He will need someone who can direct their full attention to him as he learns to harness the power that Kurama has. I will be that person to guide him through that process. However, I will only be able to start when Naruto takes the Chunin exams. Then only will my training actually be of use to him." Jiraiya explained his plan to Kushina, who nodded in understanding. To deliver the news to Naruto, they ascended to his chamber. In the meanwhile, Sakura was expecting for a warm welcome when she returned home from the hospital. Sakura clung to the notion that they didn't view her as a means of elevating their own standing in Konoha, even after hearing what her mother had to say a few days prior. She still had little optimism, which was unfortunate for her. She had always been disappointed by her parents, who had denigrated her for not being as conventionally appealing to many men or, as her mother claimed, for lacking any unique skills that would improve their standing in Konoha. Her family's reputation seemed to be their only concern, not the pleasure or well-being of their daughter. With the lowest aspirations of her life, she entered her home and went upstairs to her room without even acknowledging her existence to her family. Mebuki let out her loudest scream, "Where the fuck were you, Sakura?" Sakura walked up to her room without responding. It infuriated Mebuki that her daughter disregarded her request. In an attempt to find the answers she sought, she ascended to Sakura's room. Sakura, regrettably, was aware that Mebuki would not stop until she received satisfactory answers. The only thing Sakura could do as she walked to her bed was to collapse and sob. She had always felt abandoned and isolated in her own family, the one location where she ought to have been protected and looked after. However, she felt imprisoned. She believed that as soon as she came out of the womb, her freedom and means of support were taken away. It was the way she had to act and behave as this perfect trophy wife every single day. She admired individuals like Kushina Uzumaki and Tsunade Senju because of this. 2 individuals who went above and beyond what was expected of the traditional woman. It looked like a pipe dream to her to be like one of her heroes. She didn't think she would ever become anything that people could be proud of, but rather that she would only ever be good at making some random drunk, homeless, hippie motherfucker happy. Sakura decided not to look at Kushina that way, despite the fact that she was the subject of criticism in Konoha for something beyond her control. Rather, she continued to cherish the books she had read as a child about Kushina's accomplishments, which included her bringing back the former glory of the Uzumaki clan, her successful fight to allow civilians to enroll in the Ninja Academy, and her overall role as an inspiration to all young women to mature, defy the expectations their families placed on them, and create their own paths. Unfortunately, she had to leave this house immediately in order to accomplish that. There would be no benefit to remaining here, especially since her parents were determined to turn her into a slut for the next respectably affluent man who even remotely shown interest in her. She had to leave this place quickly. Unfortunately, Mebuki Haruno, the she-devil herself, entered before she could. "So, Sakura, you mind telling me where the fuck you were last night? Because I was worried you would taint yourself by hanging out with that demon spawn and his queen whore of a mother again." Mebuki growled as she spoke the names. "Well, for your information, mother, I was hanging out with them last night. You want to know why? Because the only demon spawn here is you. Not Kushina-san, and definitely not Naruto-kun. They're two of the nicest people I've ever met, and aside from your petty insecurities about them, they have done nothing wrong to deserve the looks they get from you and the villagers. If you had actually taken the time to get to know them, you would be surprised, but no. All you care about is your stupid reputation in Konoha. You don't want to be seen interacting with the most kind-hearted kid I know, because you're afraid that whatever happens here will look bad on your resume with the civilian council. So congratulations, you got what you wanted. But you also failed in the most basic of ways possible, common human decency." Sakura ended her speech to her mother there, hoping this would finally be the kick in the balls that she needed to get her head out of her ass and start understanding how to act like a human for once in her miserable life. In an attempt to get Sakura to stop talking, Mebuki yelled, "Sakura, I'm doing this for your own good. Nothing good will come out of hanging out with the demon spawn. You'll be tainted and you'll never be fit to marry someone good for you. I'm doing all of this because I care about you." But this only made Sakura chuckle to herself. "Are you concerned about me? The largest bit of garbage I've ever heard is that one. I'll show you that you've never given a shit about me. Well, Mebuki, if you truly do care about me, then tell me, what did you get me for my 6th birthday?" When was your birthday?" Sakura was disappointed again. She expected mom to at least try to lie about her birthday, even though she knew it by heart and her mother didn't even try to remember it. However, no, because it demonstrated that Mebuki didn't even think Sakura was deserving enough to lie to her in an effort to please her. This hurt more than any lie Mebuki could have told. Sakura started packing her bags, presumably since this snub was the last straw for her. Mebuki questioned, "And where the fuck do you think you're going now?" "Well, Mebuki, considering your only reason to keep me around is in the hopes that some rich person will find me attractive to eventually consider the possibility of marrying me and thereby increasing your status within Konoha and the world as a whole, I'm leaving this family. I'd rather go to a place where people will love me for who I am right now rather than for someone I could potentially be in the future, and someone who doesn't treat me like I'm the worst thing that has ever happened to them. Now I know you are still bitter over what happened 10 years ago. Kushina-san told me everything while we were waiting for Naruto-kun to wake up, but for your own sake and for the sake of everyone involved, get your head out of your ass for once in your life and understand that this kind of thing is not something you hold a grudge over, especially when the other person seemingly has done nothing wrong." Sakura continued to pack her belongings. Mebuki chuckled at Sakura, saying, "You can't be serious. Where the hell will you go? You have no friends aside from that demon, and we all know that if you end up staying with him, you'll be treated just like that little shit deserves." "Well, it's a good thing that I do have other friends then. I won't be telling you who because you'll just harass them until you get your way. As of now though, this is my final goodbye. I am no longer Sakura Haruno, and I will be making that official as soon as I can. My name now is just Sakura. No Haruno attached," Sakura said as she headed toward the front door. To show that they truly loved her as their daughter, she gave her family one last chance to attempt to stop her, but Mebuki and Kazashi Haruno refused to back down. "You're just going to die out there with the failure that you are. One day you'll be coming back to US and we will show you the same kindness that you did to US here," Mebuki screamed. "I'm sorry I couldn't be the daughter you wanted, but none of this is on me. If you ever want to even think of my forgiveness, take a good hard look at yourselves in the mirror and ask yourselves, if I was to go back and tell my younger self about the person I became right now, what would be their reaction?" Sakura's parting remarks hit Kazashi and Mebuki in the most painful place, their egos and prides. She understood deep down that the best thing she could have done for her own mental health and well-being was to leave that toxic home. In an attempt to start over with individuals who she knew appreciated her and her presence, she traveled to the Yamanaka complex. Sakura had been gone from her home for a few days. She was able to find a new home during that time by residing with the Yamanakas, who appeared to be very welcoming to her. Knowing that Sakura was one of Ino's closest friends and how much she needed this shift in her life, Ishida Yamanaka in particular treated her like a treasured guest. In the meantime, Ino was overjoyed to have Sakura over because it meant they could play together more before she had to start the academy the next day. She secretly wished that Sakura would be present at the very least so that she would have a companion she liked. Although she was aware that Choji Akamichi and Shikamaru Nara would be present, Ino always thought of them as more bearable than friends. But Sakura was different. Around her, she felt free to be who she really was without worrying about what other people thought. Ino has always battled her desire to blend in and be someone her family would be proud of. Someone who gave back to her community and commanded and earned the respect of others. It felt different with Sakura, though. She was relieved of the emotional and physical strain she had put on herself to be this ideal girl. Ino was always worried about the latest fashions in Konoha, always wanted to be the first to notice new styles, and, above all, always wanted to be the one that no one could criticize. She would frequently omit and pass on all the events that gave life purpose because she had spent so much time creating this ideal image. That is, until Naruto Uzumaki and Sakura Haruno came into her life. Even though she had only known them for a few days, she experienced some of the happiest times of her life with Sakura, and she was certain that she would be there no matter what. On the other hand, Naruto gave her her first introduction to the reality of her world. No matter how hard she tried, she would never be able to please everyone. Ino felt that she still needed to accomplish more, despite her newfound independence and the relief from some of the demands. She went to ask her father, Inoichi Yamanaka, a question that she had never thought she would be able to ask until meeting Sakura and Naruto. "Father, will you teach me some of the Yamanaka clan moves?" said Ino. This development confused Inoichi. He was asked to help his daughter improve her methods. Did I enter a parallel universe where Ino-chan is more concerned with her personal growth than with how other people perceive her? Since I'm very certain she wasn't as interested in becoming a shinobi as I was. I swear I must be becoming senile. He pondered. But who am I to doubt that? I am always ready to help my daughter. Just let me know when and where you want me to help you out, Inoichi said. Inoichi could only laugh when Ino enthusiastically remarked, "Well, since the academy starts tomorrow, I want you to teach me something today, so that I go in there as the most awesome student there." He then led Ino outdoors to assist her in learning. Sakura heard what Ino and her father were saying. The Shinobi Academy seemed like a dream to her. She was raised as a civilian and, other from her absurd literary smarts, she never really had any talent. She typically portended disaster for civilians who ever aspired to become shinobi. Only 3 individuals who did not come from a prominent clan have ever graduated from the academy and gone on to become full-time shinobi in the years since it started. These 3 members included Kakashi Hitaki, the son of the White Fang of Konoha, as well as Orochimaru and Jiraiya of the Sannin. Only Jiraiya remained employed by Konoha after one of them turned wild and another died. The one characteristic that distinguished them from Sakura, though, was that they were all gifted in some way that made them stand out. By the end of his second year, Orochimaru had learned almost all of the necessary jutsu, making him the smartest person to ever join the academy. Even though Jiraiya was not as intelligent as Orochimaru, he was nonetheless seen as gifted enough to place first on all of the academy's physical examinations. In contrast, Kakashi was the son of the renowned Tsukumo Hitaki, also known as Konoha's White Fang, and the youngest shinobi to ever graduate the academy. One day, Sakura had a dream that her name would be inscribed beside the names of those 3 legends because she was able to establish herself in spite of the fact that she lacked the God-given cheat codes that the majority of shinobi nowadays were using as they were playing a video game. She had always hoped to be remembered as a fierce warrior who overcame all obstacles to do what others believed was impossible for her, someone who could leave a legacy. In the hopes that Ishida Yamanaka could respond to some of her inquiries, Sakura headed over to her. Sakura said, "Yamanaka-san? What is it, my dear? How do I become a shinobi? Wow, Sakura, I didn't know you were interested in the world of shinobi. What exactly made you want to do this?" Ishida inquired to Sakura. Like all shinobi, whether active or retired, Ishida was intimately familiar with the dark side of the shinobi world. She didn't want Sakura to enter this situation without being very certain that she understood what she was getting into. This was a life of suffering, loss, and grief rather than one for those seeking the fame and prestige that come with being a shinobi. "Well, Yamanaka-san, I recently met a boy. Someone who thinks Konoha is the world to him, but he is being hit by everyone for no reason. I don't think that's right, and I want to be there to make sure he doesn't get hurt again. For that, I need to be strong, and shinobi are the strongest people in Konoha." Sakura replied with enthusiasm. because she thought it could reopen past wounds for the elder Yamanaka. She didn't want to tell her the truth, which was that she idolized all shinobi. She did, however, fervently wish to keep Naruto safe, so it wasn't entirely false. Well then, it seems to me that you want to become a shinobi for a good reason, so I will tell you. First, you need to join the academy. This is where you will learn everything there is to know about being a shinobi. You will learn how to throw kunai and shuriken, learn about the history of being a shinobi, and you'll learn just how important making friends is for being a shinobi, because when you're out in the world doing missions, those friends are the only people you'll be able to count on. Ishida continued. Sakura inquired, how can I join the academy? In the hopes that she would be able to do so. Come with me, I'll take you to meet Lord Hokage, he'll help you fill out your application. Sakura and Ishida quickly went to the Hokage office and completed Sakura's application for the academy. Sakura was overjoyed because she would finally be able to fulfill her dream and no one could stop her. She was excited to return home and inform Ino that, in spite of their differences, they would now be in the same class. Although Sakura had hoped Naruto would also be in her class, she found this to be more than sufficient. Nothing, in Sakura's opinion, could destroy today. She just refused to let it happen right now. A day later, to Naruto and Sasuke it was the academy's first day. It would be their first social interaction since the incidents. They hated it. People are always staring at them with anger or sympathy, especially Naruto, who has had to put up with this garbage all of his life. But to them, those were the most bearable of their new classmates. Sasuke and Naruto could handle the haters and the pitiés, but the goddamn fangirls were the ones they truly detested. When they witnessed a swarm of girls charging toward them, it was an indication that their day had gone terribly wrong. Days were spent attempting to ignore everyone who believed they had any right to know what was happening in their life, and nights were spent avoiding the idiots who thought more with their vaginas than their brains. They were in a classroom full of fangirls and haters, and they had no one they knew to help them cope with the anguish. Unfortunately, they were about to experience the worst of the worst. In the hopes that at least their privacy would be respected, Naruto and Sasuke walked calmly to the rear of the class. They had no idea how embarrassing things were about to get. The civilian females were the first to arrive at their table. Sasuke-kun, please go on a date with me, they all shouted loudly. In some ways, this was the high point of Naruto's day. Watching these pitiful and desperate girls fail miserably on every level as they attempt to court the most desirable free agent available. Well, he had to do this or put up with a group of ignorant idiots tormenting him without any justification. But as two familiar faces entered the classroom, Sakura and Ino both recognized the young Jinchuriki and fought their way through the throng of girls to the seats directly in front of Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto's expression brightened. Sakura pushed through, saying, "Ouch, sorry, excuse me," without hesitation. As Sakura and Ino pushed past to reach their seats, the fangirls cried out, "Where are you going, meanie? Stop trying to get in between me and Sasuke-kun." On her first day at the academy, Ino calmly stated, "Look, we don't care about you and your love for Sasuke, but please let us sit at our seats, they're right in front of Naruto and Sasuke." She didn't want to irritate anyone or create enemies. "Well, why else would you be here? I mean, Sasuke-kun is right there. Oh, don't tell me you're here for the loser. My mommy and daddy called him a demon before, and mommy and daddy are never wrong. So why are you here if it's not to woo Sasuke-kun?" Unidentified scrub fangirl 69 said. "For your information, that loser you speak of has a name, it's Naruto. And for the love of God, if I hear you calling him anything other than his name, Naruto, then I will personally make sure you will never be able to live out your completely delusional princess fantasies with your Sasuke-kun." Sakura went up to the fangirl and whispered in her ear, "And don't even think about trying to mess with me, because if you do, the whole Yamanaka clan as well as Kushina Uzumaki will be right here to make sure you never pull this kind of stunt again." One of the pale-eyed girls asked patronizingly, "Is that a threat? I'll have you know that my name is Hinata Hyuga, and my father is the head of the Hyuga clan, the most powerful clan in Konoha. So I suggest you shut up before I personally take this to Lord Hokage and have the both of you expelled from school for hitting a classmate." Instead of thinking about the feelings of the dumb NPCs, Ino grabbed Sakura and headed to their seats so as not to cause any issue on the first day. They turned around and gave Naruto dazzling smiles in an attempt to attract his attention. As Sakura and Ino sat down, Naruto turned around and thanked God that he had at least one person in the class who wouldn't treat him badly and that he had some friends he could turn to in times of need. "Sakura-chan, Ino-chan, you guys are in this class too?" replied Naruto. With excitement, Ino said, "Yeah, didn't we tell you? Sakura and I are also joining the academy this year. But hey, this is awesome. We get to be classmates. Before leaping to his feet and giving Naruto a heartfelt hug. Naruto gasped, Ino-chan, can't breathe. At last, Ino released him. Sakura approached Naruto and sat down next to him, precisely in the center of Naruto and Sasuke, so as not to be outdone. As though to claim her territory on the young man, she put her arms around the blonde. Strangely, Naruto thought this was cute, especially considering that every time he interacted with a girl who wasn't his mother or Ino, he would either suffer a black eye or be outcast. Meanwhile, Sasuke continued to struggle against his own fan group. When Sasuke yelled, "Naruto, help a brother out please," Naruto was startled out of his reverie long enough for the man to realize the extent of the damage. "I don't know Sasuke, I can't be the one to stand in the way of love, Dadbao. You're on your own for this one." Naruto laughed. Sasuke was getting frantic. "Come on, I'll treat you to free ramen if you get these parasites off of me," the man said. Giving away free ramen? Even Naruto himself must have been unable to resist this. Instead, Naruto chose to continue taunting Sasuke. "Now free ramen is definitely something I love, but seeing you struggle with these girls is just too funny to pass up." Sasuke yelled, "Please Naruto, I'm dying over here." Fortunately for him, a man with a huge scar on his nose entered at this precise moment. For the next 5 years of their lives, the gang was to be taught by RyugaXD, also referred to as the Academy Commander. "Good morning class, my name is RyugaXD and I will be your Academy Sensei for the next few years of your lives. Now if you could all find an empty seat and not jump on fellow classmates, that would be greatly appreciated," Iruka replied. In an attempt to get as close to Sasuke as they could, the fangirls moved to vacant seats, with the seats next to Sakura and Ino seeing the most fighting. After a while, they all had to be separated because Shikamaru Nara, a lazy ass with pineapple hair, walked over to the seat and put his head down on his desk in an attempt to avoid as many people as possible. Regretfully, he had just found himself in the most dire circumstance imaginable. Positioned between the class's quietest students and the two loudmouths. Goddamn, this was a nightmare. Fortunately, Iruka made his presence known at this moment by using his large head jutsu. Everyone rushed to the closest seat as soon as Iruka roared, "Get to your seats before I kick you out of the class. I don't think you want to be known as the people who couldn't stay in the academy for even an hour before getting kicked out." Good, now with that out of the way, let's begin with introductions. My name is RyugaXD and I will be your academy instructor for the next few years as you all learn what it takes to be a shinobi. Beside me is Mizuki Takabayashi, your other instructor and my close friend. Iruka replied. Now I want you all to go around the table and tell me your name and one thing you like. Hopefully this will help everyone become friends. The majority of the civilians were seated toward the front, where Iruka began. Naruto didn't find their odd spiels remotely engaging enough to listen to when they were being delivered. Whispering in Sasuke's ear, he turned to face him. Naruto asked, "Yo Sasuke, wanna play a game?" Then Sasuke said, "What's up Naruto? You know these posers aren't real ninjas. Wanna guess where these people will fail the academy? Or you think they'll all drop out?" questioned Naruto. "Alright, I can play." Picking out all the random assholes who had no business in the academy, Naruto and Sasuke walked around the table. They all had very fanciful reasons for wanting to attend the academy, so they couldn't see anyone who was even close to being regarded as a skilled shinobi. That is, until someone with a dog and a bad attitude said something. "My name is Kiba Inuzuka and this is my dog, Akamaru. I am the heir to the Inuzuka clan throne. I can guarantee that I will whoop everybody's butts in this classroom and none of you can do a thing about it. If you want to challenge me to a fight, well, get your hospital bills ready because I will not hesitate to unleash Akamaru on you and make you pay with your blood," he screamed, which caused the person in front of him sigh inaudibly. When a man who appeared even more emo than Sasuke spoke up, Naruto couldn't help but notice and make fun of his brooding friend. "Seriously Kiba, you need to be quiet. The reason is because you're giving us too much attention and have now put a target on your back, and with me being associated with you, now a target is on my back too. The reason is because. Yo Imosuke, it seems like you got competition for the least likely to ever land a decent woman award," Naruto said snidely. Sasuke shot back, unaware that the man next to him had already kissed the two girls seated in front of them. "Speak for yourself, at least I can get a woman. I've never seen you even talk to a girl that isn't your mother." Sasuke's ears perked up, and Sakura and Ino turned redder than a tomato when Naruto casually replied, "Oh right, I forgot because while you were out there screaming for your mommy, I was out here bagging the hottest girl in the class, and you can't do anything about it cause we've already kissed for your information. Sasuke gave Naruto a high five before Iruka cut them off, saying, "Damn Naruto, respect my boy." In his, "I dare you to speak now, test me," tone, Iruka said, "Naruto, Sasuke, is there anything you'd like to tell the class?" They both acknowledged this right away, expressed regret for disturbing the class, and the introductions proceeded as planned. The head of the Aburame clan declared, "My name is Shino Aburame and I'm the heir of the Aburame clan. The reason is because I am the son of Shibi Aburame, the current leader of the clan. I like bugs, and if any of you try to hurt my bugs I will personally make it my mission to ensure that you do not end up in happy places, at least for that moment. The reason is because bugs and I share a special relationship, and I do not wish to explain any further than necessary." His high-pitched voice made many students uncomfortable, particularly the females. "Ino, please remind me to never get on his bad side. I think he'll go after my family if I do," Sakura replied. Sakura was unable to resent her family in spite of everything that had happened to them. She is still alive and well now courtesy of Mebuki and Kazashi. "Don't worry Sakura, I don't think it's that hard to not make him mad. Just don't talk badly about his bugs or don't squish his bugs and we should be fine," Ino replied. On the inside, she was experiencing a complete mental breakdown following Shino's debut, but on the outside, it seemed like nothing could break her spirit. Iruka gestured to Sakura and said, "Thank you Shino, we can move on now. You, pink hair, you go next." Sakura stood up anxiously. She felt that she wouldn't be able to accomplish this even though she was in the same class as both Naruto and Ino. Even her parents didn't want her as a lowly civilian, but she was looking about and saw all the clan heirs. For her, it was an absolute nightmare. Naruto tapped her shoulder after noticing this. "You got this Sakura-chan, just believe in yourself and if you need anything, I'm here." Sakura turned to the class and said, "Thank you Naruto-kun. I joined the academy because I want to become a ninja like Kushina Uzumaki, who is widely regarded as the greatest kunoichi of her generation and possibly of all time, despite not coming from a clan with strong powers like the Senju or the Uchiha." Sakura said that last part with such confidence that it could only make Sasuke perk up his ears and Naruto blush a little. "My name is Sakura, I like to study and learn new things, I like to play with my friends, and I like people who are nice to others. I do not like meanies, broccoli, and people who call my forehead too big." She didn't have to toss that stray at the Uchiha clan, but Sasuke chose to overlook it for the time being. At last, a civilian with a real objective that wasn't just, marry Sasuke Uchiha and have Sharingan babies, or, beat the ever-living dog crap out of people. Unfortunately for Sakura, Naruto and Sasuke provided more consolation than many others. One guy laughed out and said, "She's stupid, she doesn't have any special powers, how can she ever think she'll be a great kunoichi? Yeah, and I heard that she was so ugly that her parents didn't even want her anymore. I heard they planned to turn her into the Uchiha's lapdog." Another civilian chuckled. Hinata approached her and pressed her face to Sakura's nose, asking, "Hey, Sakura right?" Sakura babbled, "Why yeah. Can I help you? You better watch yourself when you say you want to be a good kunoichi, because all I see here is a girl who has no talent, no special keke genkai, and no chance of being anything more than a weak genin. Maybe not even a genin, you won't make it out of the academy. If you do, you'll be nothing more than a burden on the team you join," Hinata whispered to Sakura's ear. However, Sakura was unfazed and used this opportunity to retaliate with much more intensity. Knowing that Hinata's pride would be crushed if she lost these fights, Sakura challenged, "And how can you be so sure of that? 'Cause from what I know, you don't know anything about me, you just met me today. Just so you know, I could probably beat you in any sparring fight right now." Hinata backed off and remarked, "Okay, then, me versus you during the entrance spar, don't be a chicken and back out when you see my true might." To put it mildly, Ino was taken aback. Sakura tore that bitch a new one, but why didn't she? Why did she treat her with such reserve? Sakura simply stood by and let her to treat her entire family with disrespect? No, she had to find out what was going on. "Sakura, why didn't you say anything back?" Ino responded. "Because, Ino, returning what she said back to her is not the way to gain her respect. She's the type to respond to strength and strength only. She chose to pick on me because she thinks I'm weak, so to prove her wrong I have to beat her in a fight, be it a spar or a fight to the death," Sakura replied. When Sakura spoke to Ino, all she could do was nod. She had only known Sakura for a month or two, but she was already aware of how adept she was at reading people. By observing the twitch in their eyelids, she was able to determine who was a friend and who was out to get her. As far as she was aware, Sakura would thrive on torture and interrogation. At least that's what she took away from the experience. At that moment, Iruka made the first call to Ino. "Thank you very much, Sakura-san. Now you blondie sitting next to Sakura, tell me your name, a little bit about yourself, and why you wanted to come to the academy," he said. "My name is Ino Yamanaka, the heiress to the Yamanaka clan. I like making friends, playing with friends, and learning mind jutsu from my dad. I hate bullies and people who think they're better than others. As for why I wanted to come to the academy, well, I want to be just like my mommy and daddy, two great ninjas who are still very nice to others," she said with complete trust. After that, Iruka went on to the remainder of the class, who either offered incredibly dull responses or were just yelling at the top of their lungs. Typically just two things. "Marry me, Sasuke-kun," or "I will prove that I'm better than the Uchiha." It would take a long time until the next important person arrived. Iruka pointed to Shikamaru and said, "You there, ponytail who seems to enjoy sleeping more than learning about your classmates." In the most monotone manner imaginable, the indolent lad answered, "Shikamaru Nara. I like it when people don't bother me. I joined the academy because my mom forced me to. Now can I go back to sleep?" With admiration in their eyes, Naruto and Sasuke gazed at the child with the pineapple hair. How could he have been indifferent to such a significant life event? He sits there and behaves as like he could do it without even trying, even though this was going to be one of his defining moments. Naruto wondered, how did he get so cool? The question Sasuke asked himself was, why doesn't he care at all? Naruto and Sasuke showed interest in Hinata and Shoji, the other two key clan members, while Iruka moved through the remainder of the class. But now it was time for the last two, the two that everyone appeared to be envious of or would stop at nothing to get to take their dick out. Sasuke was first. Every lady except Sakura, Ino, and Hinata immediately wet themselves when Sasuke spoke. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I like some things, I hate most things. I joined the academy to get strong enough to protect the village that my brother gave his happiness to protect." They all yelled and swooned, making all the boys in the vicinity wince in their chairs. "Oh my god, he's so cool," they exclaimed. Before turning to Naruto, Iruka said, "Thank you for sharing, Sasuke, and that seems like a really good goal to try and go for. I hope you get it one day." The majority of his classmates erupted in laughter as Naruto proudly informed them, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like my family and friends. I don't like people who try to hurt others for no reason, and I hate the people who tried to hurt me that one day. I joined the academy because I want to become Hokage one day, and this is the first step in becoming Hokage." With the exception of Sakura, Ino, Sasuke, and Shikamaru, the entire class erupted in laughter at Naruto's expense, exclaiming, "Really? A loser like you thinks he can be Hokage? This has to be the funniest joke I've ever heard." "Don't listen to them, Naruto-kun. They have no idea how strong you really are, so let them keep barking no matter what. Ino and I will be here for you," Sakura said to Naruto in a whisper. "Thanks, Sakura-chan. I know I can count on you to be there for me, so thank you for that," replied Naruto. Naruto realized right once that this would be an intriguing 6 years of his life, even if he made more enemies than friends on his first day. To him, everything everyone else did was just a formality because he was surrounded by the people he cared about. "Kurama, isn't this going to be a lengthy ride?" In his thoughts, Naruto addressed Kurama. "I was trying to take a nap, you idiot, so please stop phoning me whenever you feel like it and leave me out of this mess. We agreed, I thought, that you would not disturb me while I sleep and that I would not take over your body and transform you into the evil fox that everyone is attempting to eradicate." Kurama scoffed. "I also adore you, enormous furball," Naruto shot back. "Come back here, you punk, and allow me to devour you. Please be quiet and let me to devour you since you are so damn annoying." Kurama shouted that he detested being referred to as a furball by anyone, particularly the youngster who had kept him in his cage for most of his life. Naruto left his mindscape and carried on with his day, hoping to surpass his father, Hashirama Senju, and all previous holders of the title of Best Shinobi in order to establish his reputation as the greatest ninja to ever emerge from Konoha.
This was it for today. To watch next part, subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. Till then, see you next time.